Chapter 26:20. Master Clairvoyant, since you've asked, I'll tell you the truth. Although I haven't truly grasped the power of chaos, I've already begun to touch it. Begun to touch it. Master Clairvoyant knew exactly what Lu Yun meant by beginning to touch it. Although he didn't show it on his face, his heart was filled with helplessness. If Yun Lu had truly grasped the power of chaos, he would be worlds apart from Yun Lu. How did you do it? Master Clairvoyant, do you think I'll tell you? In the past, Master Clairvoyant would have shed all pretense of cordiality with Yun Lu. But now, the situation was completely different. Not only had Yun Lu informed Master Clairvoyant, but he'd also informed the other rulers of the stars. Although the Blood Demon and the others hadn't refined the Chaos Tablets and become rulers of the stars, they still had the tablets in their bodies. They weren't existences that others could compare to. Without a doubt. When everyone found out about this, their faces turned ugly. The army of unknown creatures was too frightening. If they hadn't sealed it earlier and heard about it, who knew what would have happened in the future? Soaring Dragon Empire. Xiling began to quietly make arrangements. Jianling Mountain was no longer possible, so it would be difficult to rely on this plane alone to resist the invasion of the army. Others couldn't lock onto this plane, but that didn't mean the army couldn't either. Sister, what's wrong with Brother Long? Of course, others wouldn't suspect Xiling, but Bai Ling had known Xiling for so long. How could she not know what her sister was thinking? Could something have happened to Brother Long? Xiling knew he couldn't hide anything from his sister. In the end, he could only give her a rough account of what had happened at Jianling Mountain. Only, it didn't sound as dangerous as it seemed. Bai Ling was very worried. But this time, Bai Ling was very calm. She knew that if even her sister couldn't do anything about it, then it must be very serious. Sister, can Brother Long come back? Sister, you've known Longao for so long. It's not like you don't know what his fate is like. She nodded. Bai Ling knew Longao very well. Brother Long's fate was 1 in 10,000. Even so, Bai Ling was still worried. This time, Brother Long wasn't going to face Celestial Dominator, but an army of unknown creatures. Sister, what can we do now? Xiling sighed deeply, but he said, what we need to do now is find a way to protect the Empire. If we can't seal the passage, the army of unknown creatures will sweep through the universe. We can't let anything happen to anyone in the Empire. Both Xiling and Bai Ling knew that the Empire was Longao's bottom line. No matter what happened, he would not let anything happen to the Empire. It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to do. This was because the area covered by the unknown lifeform army was simply too large. When the time came, not to mention the Empire, even the entire cosmos would be affected. What should he do? Xiling and Bai Ling's faces looked terrible. Sister, you should know what it means if others know about this. We can't cause trouble for Longao, so we can't let anyone know about this. Especially his parents, grandfather, and Yuan. Do you understand? Bai Ling, of course, knew what her sister meant. She nodded and said helplessly, I understand. Xiling and Bai Ling worked together very well. It was impossible to tell what was going on between them. Others couldn't tell, but that didn't mean Yuan couldn't. Yuan was very meticulous, especially when it came to Bai Ling. There were fake mountains all around and hundreds of flowers bloomed. It was very elegant and beautiful. Sister Yuan, you're looking for me? Bai Ling was very curious. She didn't know why Yuan had suddenly come looking for her. This was because ever since they had devoured the Primal Chaos Tablet, everyone had been busy cultivating and refining the Primal Chaos Tablet. Why would they waste time for no reason? Could it be that Sister Yuan saw something? That didn't seem right. She and her sister had hidden it very well. It was very difficult for others to find out. Sister Bai Ling, you should know about the matter between me and Longao. She nodded. Bai Ling didn't say anything. She didn't know what Yuan meant. Why would she suddenly say this? Yuan just smiled. Her smile was very strange. The more it was like this, the more uncertain Bai Ling felt. Sister Yu'in, what happened? If there's anything you want to say, just say it. If it's something your sister can do, I'll do my best. That year, when Longao and I were still in Chihua town, he was looked down upon by everyone. For 10 whole years, Longao didn't give up at all. I accompanied him every moment. Bai Ling didn't say anything else. She didn't know what Yu'in meant. As for what Yu'in was saying, it wasn't just her. Everyone in the empire knew. Everyone knew that Longao was just a piece of trash in Chihua town. Everyone looked down on him. Even so, for 10 years, Longao was like a day. Not only was he not dispirited, but he was even more hard-working. In these 10 years, even Longao's family had chosen to give up on him. But there was one person who didn't choose to give up. She even gave up her appearance. She wanted to accompany Longao at all times. This person was none other than Yu'in. To a woman, her appearance was tens of thousands of times more important than her life. But even so, Yu'in still chose to give up her appearance. Just thinking about it meant something. The relationship between Longao and Yu'in was incomparable. Bai Ling even envied them sometimes. For so many years, every time he went out, I was scared witless. Although I know that Big Brother Long's fate isn't to fall casually, there are always accidents. You know that I'm very worried about him. Sister Yu'in, it's not just you. I'm also very worried about Big Brother Long's safety. Sister Bai Ling, I know that you and your sister don't want to tell us, but I can sense that something happened to Big Brother Long this time. Looking at Yu'in in front of her, Bai Ling felt very helpless. Should she tell Sister Yu'in? Because her sister had told her before that no matter what happened, she absolutely couldn't tell anyone about what happened in Jianling Mountain. Especially Yu'in and the others. If something happened to Yu'in and the others, they wouldn't be able to explain it to Longao when he returned. Sister Bai Ling, don't tell me you still don't want to tell me? Without waiting for Bai Ling to speak, Yu'in continued, if you don't want to tell me, I won't force you. I'll go find Big Brother Long myself. Chapter 26-21. Sister Yu'in, don't. Hearing that Yu'in was leaving the Soaring Dragon realm, Bai Ling was completely anxious. According to her sister, before Brother Long entered the passage, he had entrusted the Empire to her. If something happened to someone in the Empire, how would she explain it to Brother Long? Especially Sister Yu'in. Bai Ling knew very well that Sister Yu'in was Brother Long's most beloved person. Nothing must happen to her. Sister Bai Ling, speak. Yu'in could clearly sense that Bai Ling was hiding something from her. Could it be Longao? It was precisely because of this that Yu'in was like this. She was very worried about Longao's safety. Sister Yu'in, you have to promise me that other than you must not tell anyone else about this, especially mother and grandfather. She nodded. The more Bai Ling was like this, the more uncertain Yu'in was. It seemed that her guess was correct. Since things had already come to this, Bai Ling did not continue to hide it and told her the general situation. Yu'in's face became more and more gloomy. In the end, her face was gloomy to the extreme. Jianling Mountain. Yu'in was not a fool. She could clearly understand the danger in Bai Ling's words. Sister Yu'in, Brother Long stepped into the passage. According to Sister, Brother Long is fated to be like this. It's not something we can stop. I have to go to Jianling Mountain. Yu'in knew that Longao would not do this if it was not a particularly dangerous thing. No matter what, nothing must happen to Longao. Bai Ling had already guessed that Sister Yu'in would be like this because she was the same before. However, for the sake of the overall situation, she must not let anything happen to Yu'in. Otherwise, once Brother Long returned safely, she would not be able to explain to him. Sister Yu'in, listen to me first. Yu'in and Bai Ling chatted for an entire day. In the end, Yu'in chose to give up on leaving the Soaring Dragon Empire and headed towards the Jianling Mountain. If you care, you will be in a mess. Whether it was Bai Ling or Yu'in, Both of them could sacrifice themselves for Longao, but both of them knew that they had to consider the big picture. Only Xiling, Bai Ling, and Yu Yin knew about this matter. Other than them, no one else knew about it. As Longao entered the passage, the 9 great starry sky empires, including the Pinnacle Slaughterer clan and the Pinnacle Dragon clan, chose to give up on locking onto the position of the Soaring Dragon Empire. Provoking the Soaring Dragon Empire now was undoubtedly courting death. Even the godly mathematician did not dare to casually provoke Yun Lu, let alone other people. In the vast starry sky, no one knew about the Jianling Mountain. In the vast starry sky, the winds and clouds changed. Several of the most powerful forces joined forces to hunt down the army of unknown creatures. After several years of hard work, the remaining unknown creatures were all eliminated. Not even a single one was left behind. In the starry sky prison, Longao and Tao Wu did not continue to speak. Both of them did not know what to do. Tao Wu did not have much hope in his heart. No matter what, if the passage to the starry sky prison could be casually sealed, they would not have been sealed for so long. Tao Wu, I need your help. Don't even think about it. Without waiting for Longao to finish, Tao Wu directly refused. What kind of joke was this? Tao Wu was not a fool. This help was not simple. If he was careless, he would lose his life. Although he was sealed here, he still had a chance. If he died, there would be no chance at all. Regarding the thoughts in Swanee's heart, how could Longao not know? Tao Wu, I believe you know how powerful the army of unknown creatures is. Although the other vast starry sky has been sealed by many starry sky rulers, no one knows how long the seal will last. Tao Wu did not speak, but he already understood the meaning of Longao's words. Back then, many starry sky rulers joined forces to seal the passage to the other vast starry sky. Until now, no one knew how long the seal would last. If they were unlucky, once the seal of the passage to the vast starry sky was forcibly broken, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not a single person would be left alive. I don't need to say it. You should understand that once the seal is broken, countless unknown creatures will madly rush in. Even if this place is a forbidden area, I believe it will not be able to stop them. What do you think? Tao Wu's face was very gloomy. It was as ugly as it could be. Longao, you don't have to be like this. Back then, many starry sky rulers joined forces to seal the passage. I know better than you how powerful it is. As long as there are no special accidents, they will not be able to break the seal. Not falling for it? Longao did not continue to persuade him, because this kind of thing had to be consensual. If the other party was not willing, no matter how much he said, it would be useless. In that case, I will take my leave. I won't see you out. Longao bypassed Tao Wu and continued to move forward. Longao's speed was not very slow, but not very fast either. In a short while, Longao's figure had disappeared without a trace. Tao Wu looked at the endless black fog in front of him and sighed deeply. After being sealed for so long, it would be a lie to say that he did not want to leave. However, it was impossible to do so by relying on his own strength. If he could gather the strength of everyone in the starry sky prison, there might be a 30% chance. But if it was only for a 30% chance, most people would not be willing to try. If there was even the slightest mistake, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was precisely because everyone was very afraid that many people chose to avoid it. If this continued, who knew how long it would take for them to leave? It was very depressing. I hope you can bring me a pleasant surprise. It was still the same sentence. Bayan didn't place all his hopes on Longao, because a mere limit starry sky immortal wanted to seal the passage. It was almost impossible. If he chose to believe Longao, then he would be a fool. Not to mention himself, perhaps no one in the starry sky prison would choose to believe Longao. Longao had already figured out the rules of the starry sky prison. There were many forbidden areas that even the unknown creatures did not dare to casually step into. However, This did not mean that if the seal of another passage in the vast starry sky was broken, then countless unknown creatures would pour in. At that time, even the forbidden areas would have no way to deal with it. After leaving Tao Wu's place, just as Longao was about to speed up, the situation suddenly changed. Countless unknown creatures poured in from all directions and began to attack Longao madly. The attack this time was many times stronger than before. Although Longao knew that he would be attacked by the unknown creatures, he was still caught unprepared. Chapter 26-22. He didn't dare to be careless. In this kind of battle, the slightest carelessness could lead to him being consigned to eternal damnation. Longao held the primal chaos axe in his hand and constantly slashed out with starry sky grasp. Spatial cracks appeared in the surroundings, and countless unknown lifeforms attacked continuously. They were like moths drawn to a flame, falling one after another. Although his starry sky crack could temporarily hold them off, it wasn't a solution if this situation continued. It wasn't a long-term solution. What should he do? According to Bayan, all the cultivators and space beasts in the starry sky prison were scattered all over the place. He would be a fool if he tried to persuade them one by one. Not to mention whether he could persuade them successfully, just the problem of time was the biggest problem. He absolutely couldn't do that. Swoosh. Longao's figure instantly disappeared and returned to the primal chaos palace. Although the attack of the unknown lifeform army was crazy, it couldn't seal the surrounding space. Therefore, Longao could enter the primal chaos palace in a matter of minutes. There was no suspense. Inside the primal chaos palace, Longao's face was very solemn. Not to mention the unknown lifeforms and the seal, just the matter of Yunlu fooling him was something he couldn't understand. He didn't know what was going on. Intuition told Longao that Yunlu's origin wasn't simple. Moreover, the matter of the passage wasn't that simple either. Whether Yunlu was friend or foe, he still didn't know. Yunlu. The entire starry sky prison was dark. Longao didn't dare to casually leave the primal chaos palace because once he left, he would be attacked by countless unknown lifeforms from all directions. It was still the same sentence. Fortunately, he had the starry sky crack and the primal chaos palace as his backing. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to resist for a few seconds. If that was the case, not to mention 1,000 years, even 100 billion years wouldn't be enough to seal the passage and leave this place. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't depressed. Sitting quietly in the primal chaos palace, Longao's face was filled with depression. Time passed by bit. For a while, Longao couldn't think of a good way to deal with the army of unknown creatures. If this continued, who knew what would happen? Even if he didn't die, he would be sealed here forever. This was what Longao did not want to see the most. Time flew. 300 years passed in the blink of an eye. In other words, there were only 700 years left. If the passageway could not be sealed, then the 3 Chaos Stone tablets of Yunlu and the others would not be able to automatically withdraw. At that time, the army of unknown lifeforms would madly surge into the vast cosmos. In a one-on-one battle, no one feared the army of unknown lifeforms. However, the situation with the unknown lifeform army was a little special. Once the vast space was swept by the army of unknown lifeforms, the consequences would be obvious. Now was not the worst moment. Longao already knew that there was another vast starry sky in addition to the one he was in. He was now certain that countless unknown creatures came from this mysterious vast starry sky. If the seal of another passage in the vast starry sky was broken, it was easy to imagine what the consequences would be. When the time came, there would be countless unknown lifeforms, tens of thousands or even millions of times more powerful than the ones they currently had, pouring into the vast starry sky. When the time came, the vast space would be swept away in an instant. The consequences would be unimaginable. Although, according to Bayan, Many rulers of the starry sky had joined forces to seal the passage in the vast starry sky. There were always exceptions. Once the seal was broken, without the cooperation of many rulers of the starry sky, no one would be able to stop it. 300 years, to the rulers of the starry sky and other cultivators of the starry sky, was nothing. It would pass in the blink of an eye. But now? On Jianling Mountain, Yun Lu, Master God Diviner, and the others felt like a year. They knew very well that the longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Longao still hadn't returned. It seemed that the passage hadn't been successfully sealed. No one was optimistic about Longao's chances, including Yun Lu. Although Yun Lu knew that Longao was fate and was also the key to sealing the passageway, the probability of success was probably less than 10%. Wanting to smoothly seal the passageway was practically an extremely difficult matter. Yun Lu, if Longao fails to seal the passage, what are you going to do? Master God Diviner was very worried that the passage hadn't been sealed. Although he couldn't wait for Longao to die inside, the threat of the unknown lifeforms was still greater. How could Yun Lu not know what Master God Diviner was thinking? However, the big picture was more important. Sometimes, they could even sacrifice Longao for the sake of the big picture. Master God Diviner, let's take 10,000 steps back. If Longao really didn't seal the passage, then with just the few of us, we won't be able to seal the passage and stop the army of unknown lifeforms from pouring out. Although Master God Diviner had already guessed, hearing it from Yun Lu's own mouth still made him sigh deeply. According to Yun Lu, the army of unknown lifeforms inside the passage could even destroy a starry sky ruler. Although Master God Diviner didn't want to believe it, he knew that Yun Lu didn't have to lie to him. If that was the case, then things would be very troublesome. Master God Diviner's expression became more and more serious. Both Yun Lu and Master God Diviner knew that once Longao stepped into the passage, it was unknown whether or not he could come out alive, let alone seal the passage. Master God Diviner didn't want Longao to die inside. If he could seal the passage, then even if he came out, he could deal with Longao. They couldn't deal with the Soaring Dragon Empire now because Yun Lu cared about the passage. If Longao came out smoothly, then Yun Lu wouldn't completely fall out with Master God Diviner for Longao. After all, there was a precedent. Master God Diviner, why don't you and I go in? Forget it. What kind of joke was this? Who knew what the situation inside the passage was like? Once they entered and were surrounded by the army of unknown lifeforms, it would be a problem for them to leave. Starry Sky Ruler was an invincible existence in the vast universe, but in front of an army of unknown lifeforms, it was a little unlikely. In the end, Master God Diviner was afraid. In fact, Yun Lu didn't dare to casually step in. He did it on purpose. However, whether it was on purpose or not, it was a little ridiculous in this situation. 300 years had passed, and there were only 700 years left. To them, 700 years could be said to pass in the blink of an eye. Everyone is worried to the extreme. Furthermore, in Yun He and Yun Tian's hearts, they are extremely angry at Longao. Chapter 26-23. From their point of view, if it were not for Longao breaking the seal, the passage would not have reopened. If it were not for fate, they would not have let Longao go so easily. If they could not seal the passage, the army of unknown creatures would surge out. Even if Longao died 1,000 times or 10,000 times, he would still deserve to die. Yun Lu was not a fool. Of course, he could tell what the two elders were thinking. He did not say much. It was hard to say who was right and who was wrong. Everything was fate. Longao himself was fate. Otherwise, he would not have reached where he was today. The Oracle and Yun Lu each had their own ulterior motive. Even if there were unknown creatures as a threat, it was still the same. That was the cruelty of reality. Soaring Dragon Empire. 300 years passed in the blink of an eye. Yu Yin, Bai Ling, and Xiling did not tell anyone about Jianling Mountain, especially Long Haosher and the others. However, the three girls were very worried. Fortunately, Long Slayer could clearly sense that his master was not dead. Otherwise, the three girls would not have waited for so long without being impulsive. In the 100-flower garden. Sister Yu Yin, Sister Xiling, we can't continue to wait for death. Although Brother Long is fine now, it doesn't mean that nothing will happen in the future. I really can't wait any longer. Bai Ling felt like she was in hell. She was worried about Longao's safety every day. She could not wait to rush to Jianling Mountain immediately to see what was going on. Xiling waved her hand and stopped Bai Ling from being impulsive. Bai Ling, calm down. When Longao stepped into the passage, he repeatedly ordered that no one should go to Jianling Mountain. How could Bai Ling and Yu Yin not know Longao's character? He would rather be in danger than let anything happen to them. That was Longao. The more he was like this, the more worried they were. Sister Xiling, I know what you mean, but we can't just keep waiting here. Yu Yin and Bai Ling had the same idea. They were very worried about Longao's safety. An army of unknown lifeforms that could kill even a ruler of stars was terrifying. Longao was still in the passageway, which was the base camp of the unknown lifeform army. He was walking right into a trap. If he was not careful, he might be swept up by the army. The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. The more he thought about it, the more anxious he became. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to go to Jianling Mountain. Xiling knew what Yu Yin and Bai Ling were worried about. So what if he knew? How could he not be worried about Longao's safety? He was completely unable to voice out his bitterness. He could only forcefully swallow his worries into his stomach. 4 words, considering the overall situation. I'm also worried about Longao's safety, but we have to think about the big picture. Once we go to Jianling Mountain, not only will we not be able to help Longao, but we might also end up making a fool of ourselves. Think about it. At this point, Violet's spirit did not continue, but the meaning of her words was very clear. Bai Ling and Yu Yin weren't fools. Of course, they knew what Xiling meant. It was still the same sentence, so what if he knew? Longao had stepped into the passageway and his life was uncertain. Even if he was fine now, it didn't mean that he would be fine in the future. The more they cared, the more confused they became. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was wrong. Yu Yin said, Sister Xiling, I know what you mean, but the place Brother Long stepped into this time is really dangerous. If we don't think of a way, Sister Bai Ling and I will be in trouble. Yu Yin felt like crying, but in the end, she held it in. She sighed deeply in her heart. At this time, Xiling didn't feel the slightest bit of soft-heartedness. She knew that if she was soft-hearted and something happened to her sister and Yu Yin, she wouldn't be able to answer to Longao. She wouldn't be able to get through this alone. Sister Yu Yin, I know the relationship between you and Longao better than anyone else. Because of this, you have to think about the big picture. You can't be impulsive and make the situation irreversible. Creak. Right at this moment, Long Haosher, Long Yi Mulin, and everyone else rushed over. They all looked serious and worried. Grandfather, father, mother, big brother. Xiling's position was very high. She just nodded to everyone. Although many of them had devoured the Chaos Tablet, Xiling was the true ruler of the universe. Without a doubt, Xiling would refine the Chaos Tablet at the first moment and become the ruler of the universe again. So everyone in the Soaring Dragon Empire was very respectful to Xiling. Yu Yin, grandfather is asking you now. Did something happen to Aoer? Yu Yin forced a smile and said, Grandfather, you think too much. According to Sister Xiling, Brother Long is still in Jianling Mountain. Once the formation is set up, our entire empire can move to Jianling Mountain. From then on, we won't have to worry about anything. Would Long Haosher believe it? If he hadn't heard anything, Long Haosher and the others wouldn't have come. Yuin, you've always been a good girl. Do you think grandfather will believe it? Mu Lin walked over and grabbed Yu Yin's hand. She said worriedly, Yuin, tell me. Did something happen to Aoer? Please tell me, please. Mu Lin was about to kneel down, scaring Yuin. She hurriedly said, Mother, you can't. I'll tell you. Okay. Mu Lin and Long Haosher had a bad feeling. If it wasn't something serious, they believed that Yuin, Bai Ling, and Xiling wouldn't hide it from them. The more Yuin acted like this, the more worried Mu Lin and Long Haosher and the others were. Yuin looked at Xiling. Her meaning was clear. Seeing Xiling nod at her, Yuin understood that since things had come to this, it was impossible to hide it anymore. Since that was the case, she might as well tell them the truth. This way, everyone could think of a way to help Brother Long. Thinking of this, Yuin did not continue to hide the truth. Instead, she told the truth in full detail. The entire 100-flower garden was extremely quiet. Not a single person spoke the truth. Because as Yuin narrated, everyone's complexion became extremely heavy. It became more and more unsightly. Everyone knew the seriousness of the matter. This matter had already passed for 300 years. Although Long Ao had not fallen, it could be said that he had a narrow escape. Yuin, why didn't you tell me earlier? However, even after saying the word Yuin couldn't say a single word. That was because she felt very guilty. If she had gone to the Sword Spirit Mountain 300 years ago, she might have been able to lend Brother Long a helping hand. Chapter 26-24. Auntie, I told you to hide this from you. Mu Lin seemed to want to say something, but in the end, she swallowed her words. Senior Xiling, how's Aoer doing now? She sighed deeply. Xiling said helplessly, Long Ao stepped into the passage, so he should be fine. As for what will happen in the future, I don't know. Indeed, they did not know. At this moment, Longing took a step forward and said, Grandfather, Senior Xiling, the most important thing now is to think of a way to help seventh brother. Long Haosher was very calm. He nodded in agreement and said, is right. Now, we must think of a way to save Aoer. Everyone returned to the palace and sat down. Xiling and Long Haosher sat in the main seats, and Long Slayer was also in the palace. Long Slayer cared about Long Ao's life the most. The two of them had already signed a contract. If Long Ao died, there was no doubt that Long Slayer would be the first one to die. Of course, Long Slayer did not want anything to happen to Long Ao. Apart from that, Long Slayer and Long Ao's relationship was obvious. As for whether Long Ao was alive or dead, Long Slayer was probably the only one who could sense it. Long Slayer, how's Long Ao? Long Slayer already knew about Xiling's identity. Long Slayer bowed respectfully and said, Lord Ruler, according to my senses, Master is fine. Hearing this, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was a blessing in disguise. Everyone, think about it and see if there's any good way to help Aoer. Everyone fell into deep thought because the current situation was very serious. If they rashly went to Jianling Mountain, not only would they not be able to help Long Ao, but the gains would also not make up for the losses. If Long Ao successfully sealed the passage and left the passage, and they were controlled by the divine mathematician, then they could imagine what the consequences would be. The grudge between the clairvoyant and Long Ao had reached the point where either one of them would die. Fire and water were incompatible. Going to Jianling Mountain at this time was like walking right into a trap. Thinking of this, everyone's expression became more and more solemn and ugly. Long Haosher was very worried. He said helplessly, now that things have come to this, we can't just sit and wait for death. We know that we can't do it, but we have to do it. Xiling didn't say anything. Although she was the Starry Sky Dominator, Long Haosher was the one who called the shots in the Soaring Dragon Empire. As for Long Haosher's intentions, everyone was already clear. Some things couldn't be done, but some things had to be done. All these years, Ao has been working hard for us. Now that Ao is in trouble, we can't just sit here and wait. Everyone nodded in agreement. No one was afraid of death. Longao left his seat and came in front of Xiling. He bowed and said, "Senior Xiling, do you have any good ideas to help Ao escape?" "We can't go to Jianling Mountain." No one said anything. Jianling Mountain has been sealed by Yunlu. According to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, Yunlu will invite the clairvoyant to Jianling Mountain to seal the passage together and stop the army of unknown creatures from sweeping through the vast universe. The clairvoyant's strength was there. If someone in the Empire could refine the Chaos Tablet and become the Starry Sky Dominator, then they could fight against the clairvoyant. But now, looking at the entire Soaring Dragon Empire, no one who had devoured the Chaos Tablet could successfully refine it and become the Starry Sky Dominator. If they fought force with force, there was only one result, and that was death or being controlled by the clairvoyant. No matter which result, no one wanted to see. "Senior Xiling, are we just going to sit here and wait for death?" 300 years had passed. Who knew if Ao could successfully seal the passage in the remaining time? If they were unlucky, they couldn't seal the passage and leave the passage. Just thinking about it made them afraid. They didn't want to wait. How could Xiling not know about the worries in the hearts of Longao and the others? It was not that she did not want to save Longao, it was just that the current situation was very special. If one step was wrong, then all the steps would be wrong. Before Longao entered the passage, he repeatedly warned her that if something really happened to the people of the Empire, she really did not know how to explain it to Longao. She was very disappointed and troubled. Her face was also very ugly. After thinking about it, Xiling said, "If we go to Jianling Mountain now, not only will we not be able to help Longao, but we will also be schemed against by the clairvoyant." No one said anything because of course they knew this. Even if it was the clairvoyant in front of them, no one was afraid. Song Lin is the only one who can help Longao. Other than that, even if you go to Jianling Mountain, it will be useless. Song Lin? Who was Song Lin? Everyone knew about the white-clothed girl because the white-clothed girl had been following Longao for hundreds of years. That was not a lie. However, other than Xiling, no one knew that the white-clothed girl was called Song Lin. "Senior Xiling, may I ask who this Senior Song Lin is?" "The white-clothed girl." So it was the white-clothed girl. After hearing this, no one was surprised. Instead, they became more serious because everyone knew the white-clothed girl's situation very well. No one knew when she would come, and no one knew when she would leave. It was simply impossible to find the white-clothed girl. Not to mention the others, even Longao might not be able to find the white-clothed girl's location. As for the white-clothed girl's strength, it was needless to say. Previously, when the white-clothed girl was unconscious, she was able to defeat the clairvoyant with one move. Thinking about it, one could imagine how terrifying the white-clothed girl was. If that was the case, then finding the white-clothed girl might really be able to help Ao. The only problem now was where to find the white-clothed girl. "I have an idea. Senior, please tell us." "It's actually very simple. Song Lin has been following Longao closely. Although she has regained her consciousness now, I believe she won't leave him in the lurch. You just have to spread the news that Longao stepped into the passage and the army of unknown creatures. Once Song Lin knows about this, I believe something will happen to her. As for us, we just have to sit here quietly and wait. I will make the decision on behalf of Longao. From now on, including Grandpa Long, without my orders, no one is allowed to take a step out of the Empire. Once they discover someone heading to Jianling Mountain." He didn't continue, but the expression on Xiling's face said it all. Everyone looked at each other. Even if they were worried, they could only endure it. Chapter 26-25. Xiling's threat was very effective. In fact, Longao was very clear about the current situation. If he acted impulsively, the consequences would be unimaginable. In the end, Longao suppressed his impulsiveness. According to Xilinx's plan, Longao spread the news. With the soaring Dragon Empire's strength, it was only a matter of minutes for everyone to know about it in the shortest time possible. In just a few short hours, in the vast starry sky, everyone knew about the Jianling Mountain. The vast starry sky was shaken. Because of the secret of the Jianling Mountain, everyone was filled with fear. An army of unknown creatures that could destroy even the rulers of the starry sky, it was obvious what it meant. Only a fool would believe that they were not afraid. Jianling Mountain. Hearing the report, Master Marvelous Mathematician and Yun Lu's expressions were extremely ugly. They were very curious about who had spread the news. Master Marvelous Mathematician had already ordered that no matter who it was, they could not leak the secret. Yun Lu, what do you think of this matter? The news of the Jianling Mountain will leak out sooner or later. As long as we can completely seal the passage, everything will be fine. If we can't seal it, at this point, Yun Lu did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Master Marvelous Mathematician was very surprised. Under normal circumstances, this matter should be kept a secret. After all, the matter of the army of unknown creatures could be big or small. Once this matter spread, it would cause panic in the vast starry sky. However, since Yun Lu had said so, and the matter had already happened, there was nothing Master Marvelous Mathematician could do. It was just that continuing to guard like this was not a solution. However, Master Marvelous Mathematician knew that it was impossible to seal the passage with his strength alone. If he could seal it outside, not only would he be able to prevent the army of unknown creatures from entering the vast starry sky, but he would also be able to kill Longao. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? In Master Marvelous Mathematician's heart, he even wanted to kill Yun Lu. In the vast starry sky there were very few rulers of the starry sky. Of all the rulers of the starry sky, only the white-clothed girl had truly mastered the power of chaos. As for the others, they could only cough. But now? The situation was completely different. Now that Yun Lu had begun to master the power of chaos, Master Marvelous Mathematician believed that in time, Yun Lu would truly master the power of chaos. If that really happened, even if all the starry sky rulers joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Yun Lu. If he had known this would happen, he would have eliminated them from the beginning. However, it was too late for regret. Things had already happened. Plotting to get rid of Yun Lu. It was easy to think about it, but difficult to actually do it. Patriarch, it seems that Longao may not be able to seal the passage. We can't continue like this. We should make plans as soon as possible. How could Yun Lu not understand the intentions of the two elders? His expression was a little unsightly. Could it be that countless years of waiting were all for naught? What do you think? Patriarch, why don't we take a risk and give it a try? If we succeed, then we won't have waited for so many years in vain. Even if we don't succeed, we can just start all over again. Elder Yunhe is right. We don't have much time left. If we still can't succeed, we can only choose to avoid it. He waved his hand. Yun Lu's expression was extremely ugly as he stopped the two elders from continuing. He said, "If Longao is still unable to do it after 1,000 years, it seems that we can only take the final step." Unless it was a last resort, Yun Lu was absolutely unwilling to act rashly. He knew very well what the consequences would be if he did that. Yunhe and Yun Tian sighed helplessly. However, since the Patriarch had already made such a decision, they couldn't say anything more. In the current situation, they could only take one step at a time and hope that Longao would follow their plan. If there were any mistakes, then all their efforts would be for naught. The three of them were actually gambling, and Longao was the key. After the news was released, everyone had been waiting for the result. They hoped that Xilinx's guess was right. If Song Lin was really willing to help Longao, then with Song Lin's powerful strength, she definitely had a chance. In the current situation, they could only wait. Time passed by bit by bit. About a few months had passed. Song Lin's figure suddenly appeared within the main hall. The people who were still in the midst of discussing what to do, saw the white-robed young lady suddenly appear in front of them. Their faces were filled with surprise. It seemed like Purple Spirit's guess was highly probable. After the news was spread, the white-robed young lady had indeed descended. There was hope to save Longao. Other than Xiling, everyone else should leave. Song Lin's voice was cold and emotionless. Everyone, including Longao, didn't care at all. After all, Song Lin's status and strength were obvious. However, Song Lin was the Starry Sky ruler who had mastered the power of chaos. She was far above the Oracle. It could be said that, even if there was someone in the Soaring Dragon Empire who could refine the Chaos Tablet and become the Starry Sky ruler, they would at most be able to contend against the Oracle. It was almost impossible for them to contend against Song Lin. This was the fundamental difference between those who had mastered the power of chaos and those who had not. This was also the real reason why the Oracle and the others had been trying to obtain the power of chaos from the Chaos Tablet for so many years. Without a word, everyone, including Longao, had left. Only Xiling and Song Lin were left in the Grand Hall. Xiling wasn't like the others. She only nodded at Song Lin. No matter what, she was only one step away from Song Lin in terms of strength. As long as Xiling could obtain the power of chaos from the Chaos Tablet, there wouldn't be much of a difference between their strength. Song Lin didn't seem to care at all. She said coldly, "I know about the news you've released. Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Xiling was actually very reluctant to look for Song Lin. If she had wanted to, she would have done so 300 years ago. Why would she wait until now? However, the current situation didn't allow her to wait any longer. Do you know about the Jianling Mountain? Xiling didn't know the true secret of the Jianling Mountain. Other than Yunlu, no one else knew about it. If not for the fact that Longao had stepped into the passageway and encountered Bian, perhaps even Longao wouldn't know about the true secret of the Jianling Mountain. I know. Can you tell me? Xiling's intuition told her that the matter of the Jianling Mountain was not as simple as it seemed. This time, Longao stepping into the passageway might not be a matter of fate. Xiling was very worried about Longao. As time passed, her worry grew. Chapter 26:26. She nodded. Sure. She was overjoyed. Thank you. Song Lin found a place to sit down and said indifferently, "The passage to Jianling Mountain is the boundary between this vast starry sky and another vast starry sky." Xiling was completely stunned by Song Lin's words. She never thought that there would be another vast starry sky outside of this vast starry sky. Was this true? She couldn't imagine it. If Song Lin hadn't said it herself, she wouldn't have believed it even if she was beaten to death. It was simply unbelievable. Xiling wasn't a fool. She had already guessed that the so-called army of unknown creatures must have come from another vast starry sky. In the chaotic era, the passage to another vast starry sky was opened and countless unknown creatures poured into the vast starry sky. She wasn't surprised at all because Xiling had already guessed it. At that time, the boundary between Jianling Mountain was a starry sky prison. The starry sky rulers dealt with those who threatened their people. Xiling nodded to show that he understood. Longao is really unreasonable. Even if he broke the seal, he can't enter the Jianling Mountain passage alone. He won't be able to return. It was a death sentence. Xiling wouldn't have believed it if it was someone else who said it. However, Xiling had to believe Song Lin's words. It was obvious how terrifying this starry sky prison was. Even you can't save Longao? Song Lin snorted coldly. This matter isn't that simple. There are too many things involved. Longao rashly stepped into the Jianling Mountain passage without thinking about the consequences. Even if I could save him, I'm afraid, this was bad. Violet's spirit was very clear in her heart. It seemed that the two of them had oversimplified this matter. It was a gamble. Not only did they lose the gamble, but it was also possible that the stakes were too high. Longao and himself seemed to have touched something untouchable. Xiling, from now on, you must take care of everyone in the Soaring Dragon Empire. No matter what happens, no one is allowed to leave, and no one is allowed to go to the Jianling Mountain. Before Xiling could speak, Song Lin had already stood up and left quickly. In a short while, she had disappeared without a trace. He sighed deeply. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. Now, he didn't even have the chance to regret. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have told Longao about the secret of Jianling Mountain. It was all his fault. He had harmed Longao. He felt helpless. He blamed himself even more. Xiling conveyed Song Lin's message to Long Haosher and the others. Xiling did not agree to go to Jianling Mountain in the first place. Now that Song Lin had spoken, Long Haosher and the others completely gave up on the idea. With Song Lin taking action, there was at least some hope. There was no need to stay here and wait. Jianling Mountain. Yun Lu, who had been guarding Jianling Mountain all this time, suddenly raised his head and looked at the endless starry sky. She's finally here. The marvelous mathematician was very curious. He didn't know who this person was, but he was certain that she was a starry sky ruler. Her strength was even greater than his. What a terrifying aura! Who could it be? She arrived in the blink of an eye. The marvelous mathematician was completely stunned by the sudden appearance of the girl in white. He had never imagined that the girl in white would suddenly appear. Moreover, she was no longer delirious. He was no match for her when she was delirious, let alone now. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't simple. Song Lin, long time no see. How have you been? Song Lin? The marvelous mathematician stood quietly to the side. He didn't want to provoke this person. If they fought, he would lose without a doubt. Song Lin snorted coldly. She didn't put Yun Lu in her eyes at all. Given Yun Lu's current strength, no one in the entire starry sky would dare to act like this except for Song Lin. Even the marvelous mathematician wouldn't casually provoke Yun Lu. The marvelous mathematician wasn't surprised at all. No matter what, Song Lin had already grasped the primal chaos stone tablet. Her strength was far above Yun Lu's. If Yun Lu had truly grasped the primal chaos stone tablet, there would be some hope. But now, there was almost no need to guess the result. Yun Lu, do you have any shame? Why did you drag Longao into this? What did she mean? The marvelous mathematician was no fool. He naturally understood the meaning behind Song Lin's words. It seemed that this matter wasn't simple. The reason Longao had stepped into the passage was closely related to Yun Lu. Yun Lu hadn't said anything about this matter from beginning to end. He didn't care at all. Song Lin, you have to understand one thing. I didn't insist on dragging Longao into this. It was he who broke in and destroyed the formation, allowing the army of unknown creatures to enter the vast starry sky. If I hadn't stopped them in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Song Lin sneered and said, "Don't dawdle with me here. Others don't know what scheme you have, but do you want to hide it from me?" Yun Lu's face suddenly changed. It became very gloomy and as ugly as it could be. Song Lin, you and I have always minded our own business. Are you going to become enemies with me because of a Longao? Yun Lu was very shocked. He was very afraid of Song Lin's strength, so he didn't want to provoke her. But he didn't expect that Song Lin would come to find trouble with him because of a Longao. It was obvious that she didn't come with good intentions. They might even fight later. If they were to fight, Yun Lu wasn't afraid of Song Lin. However, things had already progressed to this stage. If Song Lin suddenly intervened, it would definitely spoil the big picture. Yun Lu was definitely unwilling to accept it. It was still the same words. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wasn't willing to fight with the other party. Song Lin turned to look at the divine mathematician in front of her and said in an extremely cold voice, "Divine mathematician, this is between me and Yun Lu. It has nothing to do with you. You can leave." If it was someone else who dared to say this, the divine mathematician would have already attacked. Only Song Lin didn't make the divine mathematician angry. Instead, his face became more and more solemn. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to leave because he wanted to know what Yun Lu was hiding. It seemed that this matter wasn't simple. But could he not leave? Definitely not. Although he had only interacted with Song Lin a few times, the divine mathematician knew very well that if he didn't leave, Song Lin would definitely attack him without hesitation. There was no need to fight to the death with Song Lin at this time. "All right, I won't interfere in your grudges. Yun Lu, I'll come back later." "There's no need." The divine mathematician ignored Song Lin and chose to leave. As for the grudges between the two, he definitely couldn't see it. Chapter 26-27. After the clairvoyant left, Song Lin's expression turned gloomy. It was unsightly. Song Lin wasn't an ordinary ruler of the universe. She had already grasped the power of chaos, and her strength was far above that of a ruler of the universe. Even the clairvoyant wasn't her match. This was Song Lin's terrifying strength. If Yun Lu wasn't afraid of Song Lin, he would have attacked long ago. How could Yun Lu remain silent after the clairvoyant left? "Song Lin, what's your relationship with Longao?" Yun Lu was well aware of Song Lin's identity. Others might not know, but how could he not know? Longao had just risen up. To say that the two people's friendship was a completely nonsensical thing. "What does our relationship have to do with you?" She didn't care at all. Yun Lu was well aware of Song Lin's temper. Unless it was a last resort, he was absolutely unwilling to fight with Song Lin. He would endure if he could. The big picture was more important. "Song Lin, you should know that I've been waiting for this for so long. There can't be any mishaps." "If you," without waiting for Yun Lu to finish, Song Lin said coldly, "I don't want to interfere in your matters, but I can tell you clearly that if you want to deal with Longao and use him as a scapegoat, don't even think about it." Yun Lu's expression darkened when he heard Song Lin's words. It was as ugly as it could get. If Song Lin insisted on interfering in this matter, it would be troublesome. What should he do? "You." Ignoring Yun Lu, Song Lin took a big stride and disappeared from the spot. She entered the valley's passage and disappeared without a trace. "Patriarch, what should we do now?" Neither Yun He nor Yun Tian dared to say a word from beginning to end, because they both knew what kind of person Song Lin was. With our current strength, we're still not Song Lin's match. If we meet force with force, not only will we fail to complete this task, we might even offend her. Yun Lu stopped abruptly, but the two elders understood the patriarch's meaning. Both of their expressions were equally unsightly. The two elders, including Yun Lu, couldn't figure out why Song Lin would help Longao out of the blue. It was inconceivable. "Patriarch, with Song Lin's strength, if she helps Longao, we'll definitely be defeated. If we leave now, the passage will be forcibly opened and we won't be able to deal with the aftermath." Nodded. How could Yun Lu not know what the elders meant? This matter. Yun Lu had thought of countless possibilities, but he had never thought of this possibility. Song Lin's sudden appearance had completely disrupted all of Yun Lu's arrangements. It was even to the extent that all his previous efforts would be wasted. Everything he had done for so many years would have been a waste of time. He absolutely could not be soft-hearted, and could not choose to give up. Once he gave up, it wouldn't be easy to find another opportunity. "Even if it's Song Lin, we can't give up so easily." "You're right. We can't afford to lose, but we can't afford to lose either. Let's go." Longao had been hiding in the primal chaos palace. He couldn't leave because there were too many unknown creatures outside. They were densely packed. Just looking at them was enough to make his scalp numb, let alone fighting them. He couldn't go on like this. Longao wasn't a fool. He knew that if he continued to stay in the primal chaos palace, thousands of years would pass in the blink of an eye. If he couldn't seal the passage, it wouldn't matter to him, but the vast starry sky would be in trouble. Although the life and death of the vast starry sky had nothing to do with him, it was all because of him. If he hadn't gambled, this wouldn't have happened. No one in the vast starry sky could break the seal except him. Not to mention Yunlu, even he felt that he was the fate of this sealed passage. Since he was the fate, he had to step out and settle this matter. It was precisely because of this that Longao was a little anxious. This was because 1,000 years was nothing to them. Especially in this kind of situation, it was something that would pass in the blink of an eye. The more it was like this, the more impatient Longao was. What should he do? It was a headache. Longao couldn't wait any longer. He tried to leave the primal chaos palace, but the result was the same. As soon as he left the primal chaos palace, he would be attacked by countless unknown creatures. It was crazy. Even with Ao Long's defense, he could only hold on for a few seconds. If he held on for any longer, he would be surrounded by the unknown creatures. At that time, it would not be easy for him to enter the Chaos Palace. Longao wasn't willing to give up so easily. He counterattacked again and again, hoping to find a breakthrough. But what was the result? In 3 months, Longao tried countless times, but he didn't succeed once. He was a little depressed. Longao couldn't figure out why there were so many unknown creatures attacking him. According to Tao Wu, there weren't that many unknown creatures here. After all, the Star Dominators had destroyed 95% of the unknown creatures and sealed the passage to the vast starry sky. If that was the case, there shouldn't be so many unknown creatures here. After all, the starry sky prison was too big. As for the reason, Longao thought for a long time but couldn't figure it out. After thinking for a long time, he could only come to one conclusion. That was, the unknown creatures here should be guarding the passage. Once the seal of the passage was broken, they could leave immediately and sweep across the vast starry sky. Other than that, he couldn't think of any other reason why so many unknown creatures would gather here. He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Longao still didn't choose to give up. He tried again and again, hoping to find a breakthrough and contact the others in the Starry Sky prison. They could join forces to seal the passage here and leave this place. However, according to the current situation, he was a little helpless. He could only hold on for 3 seconds at most if he left the Primal Chaos Palace. Any longer and he wouldn't be able to find a breakthrough. Not only that, he was besieged by countless unknown creatures. He didn't even know if he could leave the Starry Sky prison, let alone find a breakthrough to leave this place. If this continued, there would only be one result. He would be sealed here forever. If that was the case, it would be too painful. This was something Longao didn't want to see. Chapter 26-28. What should I do? Trapped in the Chaos Palace, Longao had no idea what to do. Longao knew that the longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. He had to think of a way to leave this place as soon as possible. No wonder Bai-an was unwilling to help him. It seemed that the strength of the unknown creatures was far beyond his understanding. Longao knew that he had underestimated the unknown creatures. However, it was too late for regret. He could only rely on the Chaos Palace to block the attacks of the unknown creatures. Other than that, there was no other way to destroy the army of unknown creatures. Could it be that he would be sealed here forever? He was unwilling. He couldn't do that. The vast starry sky was still waiting for him. He couldn't give up. Taking a step back. If he couldn't seal the passage within 1,000 years, the army of unknown creatures would sweep across the vast starry sky. If he was unlucky, the army of unknown creatures might sweep across the empire. If that happened, it would be too late for him to regret. He couldn't let that happen. The only solution was to seal the passage completely so that the unknown creatures couldn't leave the starry sky prison. He sat quietly in the Chaos Palace. Longao's face was very solemn, and it was also very ugly. He thought that with the Chaos Palace, he could easily deal with the unknown creatures and seal the passage. However, things weren't as simple as he thought. It was too difficult. Not to mention him, even Yun Lu and Master Godly Mathematician might not be able to do it. Moreover, whether it was Yun Lu or Master Godly Mathematician, they wouldn't take the risk to enter the Starry Sky prison. Even the Starry Sky ruler wasn't confident of winning against the army of unknown creatures. Everyone was selfish. Longao didn't blame Yun Lu for this. Even he was selfish. His imagination ran wild. Longao shook his head fiercely. He held the primal chaos axe in his hand and was ready to continue trying. Swoosh! Longao instantly appeared outside the Chaos Palace. As soon as he appeared, he did not even wait for the surrounding unknown creatures to attack. He had already taken the initiative to attack. He did not attack randomly in all directions. Instead, he chose one point and started to crazily slash out Starry Sky grasp. Countless cracks in the starry sky swallowed. It was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, countless unknown lifeforms were swallowed by the spatial rift. However, the so-called unknown lifeforms that were devoured were insignificant compared to the army of unknown lifeforms. However, Longao's speed had already soared to the extreme. With the continuous slashes, Longao actually managed to escape. They were like moths to a flame. The unknown lifeform had no concept of life or death. Even as it watched its companion being swallowed up by the spatial rift, it continued to attack without hesitation. It was not afraid of death at all. This kind of fearlessness of life and death really made people shudder. Apart from this unknown life form, there was probably no other life form in the vast universe that could do this. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. It was truly inconceivable. This time, Longao held on for a full 6 seconds, longer than any of his previous attempts. Although it was only twice as long, it wasn't easy for Longao. With this confidence, Longao began to attack according to this method. As time slowly passed, the duration of his attacks became longer and longer. From the initial 3 seconds to the middle 6 seconds. In just a few days, Longao was able to hold on for about a minute every time he attacked. What kind of concept was this? Perhaps under normal circumstances, a minute was nothing. However, the current situation was completely different. A minute was a major breakthrough for Longao. After a few months of slaughter, Longao didn't know how many unknown lifeforms he had killed. However, thinking about it carefully, he had killed millions of unknown lifeforms at least. It was a little hard to imagine how many unknown lifeforms there were in the Starry Sky prison. It seemed to be endless and there was no way to kill all of them. If that was really the case, then even if he exhausted himself to death, he wouldn't be able to kill all of them. It was a pain in the ass. Longao still didn't choose to give up. He continued to attack and destroy the unknown lifeforms. Tao Wu. At this moment, a huge body suddenly appeared and stood back to back with Longao. It began to attack crazily. In this way, the two of them could completely resist the attacks of the unknown lifeforms for a short period of time. Feeling the huge body behind him, Longao was very curious. He didn't know why Tao Wu suddenly came to help him. It was a little illogical. What was the reason? He couldn't figure it out. Longao couldn't figure it out at all. However, with Tao Wu's appearance, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Why did you come?" After thinking for a while, Longao finally asked. This was because the situation was very special and there was no room for the slightest mistake. He had to figure out Tao Wu's intention first. Otherwise, if Tao Wu stabbed him in the back, he wouldn't even know how he died. As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. Longao was very careful. Tao Wu seemed to be able to guess Longao's curiosity. He snorted and said, "I don't want to stay here any longer. Instead of having no hope, I might as well play with you. Even if I can't get out or seal the passage, I can still protect myself." Tao Wu was very confident in his strength. As a half-step starry sky sovereign divine beast, he usually didn't want to move around casually because the consequences would be unimaginable if he was besieged by an army of unknown lifeforms. In the end, Tao Wu was still a little pessimistic about himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed here for so many years and didn't dare to fight against the army of unknown lifeforms. He had been sealed for too long, so long that even he himself did not know. Precisely because of this, Bian was still prepared to give it a try, because he was very clear in his heart that for so many years, no one had ever entered the vast starry sky, except for Longao. If someone said that there was no trace of trickery, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Go all out. This time, Fu Cheng was also gambling. If he won, he could leave this prison and be free from then on. If he lost, he would probably have to pay with his life. This was a problem without a doubt. Perhaps even Fu Cheng himself had thought of this. But even so, if Fu Cheng chose to gamble, he would try his luck to see if he could win. Chapter 26-29. One had to admit that Tao Wu was going all out this time. The combined power of Longao and Tao Wu was indeed terrifying. Even so, the two of them still felt a headache as they faced the unknown creatures that were constantly attacking them from afar. In such a situation, the slightest mistake would cause them to fall into eternal damnation. There could not be any mistake. Longao, we can't go on like this. Quickly think of what we should do. Tao Wu's face was very gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get, because Tao Wu knew very well that if they continued like this, they would not be able to return to the forbidden area. There would only be one outcome, which was to be killed by the countless unknown creatures around them. There was no doubt about it. How could Longao not know the meaning behind Feng Wu's words? Tao Wu, let's take a risk. You have to help me. What did that mean? Tao Wu did not know what Longao meant. But since things had come to this point, no matter what Longao wanted to do, he had to support him unconditionally. What do you want to do? Devour. F***ck Tao Wu wanted to scold his father. He had seen people who did not care about their lives, but he had never seen someone who did not care about their lives like this. If there were not many unknown creatures, he could devour them as well. But the current situation was not like that at all. There were too many unknown creatures, so much so that it made his scalp tingle. In just a moment, Tao Wu calmed down. Longao would not have done this if he did not have the slightest confidence. In the end, Longao still had confidence. In any case, he had already chosen to gamble. Since that was the case, what did it matter if he increased the stakes? Thinking of this, Tao Wu did not continue to dawdle. He nodded heavily and said, "What should I do?" If it was any other time or when he left the astral prison, Longao would definitely not do this, because no one knew if they would be attacked by their own people when they devoured with all their might. However, the current situation was very special. If he didn't put his heart and soul into it, the final result would be a failure. In the beginning, Longao was prepared to devour and refine the undying creatures into corpse slaves. This way, the undying creatures would fight against the undying creatures, and he could take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to seal the passage inside. It was time to fight. Longao also went all out. Not only did Longao have to deal with the surrounding creatures, but he also had to be wary of Tao Wu. If Tao Wu attacked him, he would be in big trouble. Longao's meaning was actually very simple. He couldn't devour all the creatures around him at the same time. He could only devour the creatures on one side. Since then, Bai and I only needed to help him fend off the other 3 unknown creatures. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to do it, but Tao Wu could do it. There was no doubt that Tao Wu was a genuine half-step Starry Sky ruler and was only 1 step away from becoming a Starry Sky ruler. Tao Wu went all out to help Longao fend off the creatures on the other 3 side. Longao didn't hesitate and immediately started devouring the creatures in front of him as fast as he could. Countless creatures began to crazily rush into the Chaos Palace. In the blink of an eye, they were refined into corpse slaves by the Chaos Palace's blood pool. It was still the same sentence. If there were a limited number of creatures, Longao could rely on the Chaos Palace to refine them. However, the current situation was completely different. There were just too many of them. Refining for a period of time was fine, but it couldn't go on forever. Pucci. Longao spat out a mouthful of blood. In just a few minutes of refining, Longao had already started to resist. Even so, Longao didn't choose to give up because he knew very well that the longer he lasted, the more advantageous it would be for both of them. He would also have more confidence in sealing the passage. He had to persevere and never choose to give up. Persevere. Persevere. Persevere even if it meant death. Just like that, Longao gritted his teeth and persevered for another 10 minutes. What kind of concept was this? There was an endless stream of creatures all around. They weren't pouring into the Chaos Palace one after another. They were pouring in crazily. Longao couldn't withstand this kind of impact with his strength alone. If this continued, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although Tao Wu didn't know how Longao did it, he could clearly sense that Longao was now seriously injured. If this continued, not only Longao, but even he would suffer. Tao Wu naturally didn't want to sacrifice himself for nothing. He only had one goal, and that was to leave this place. Longao, give up quickly. Do you want to die? Tao Wu was completely anxious. If he knew Longao was so reckless, he wouldn't have chosen to gamble even if he was beaten to death. He had been cheated. However, it had already happened. It was too late to regret. After persevering for another second, Longao disappeared with Tao Wu. The surrounding creatures were shocked because they couldn't understand how this human could disappear under their eyes again and again. Inside the Chaos Palace, looking at the surrounding space, Tao Wu's face was filled with shock. Of course, he knew that the space that Longao had brought him into was a space divine tool. Although space divine tools were rare, there were still countless of them in the vast starry sky. After all, the vast starry sky was too big. No one knew how long they had existed. The only difference was that it could withstand the attacks of the creatures. This space artifact was too powerful. If he could have such a space artifact, he might be able to step into the starry sky prison. It would be a lie to say that he didn't have any greed. However, Bayan did not do so, because he knew that Longao must have grasped a space divine tool. Not only that, he always felt that the youth he was facing was not simple. Even if the other party was only a so-called peak starry sky immortal, he still gave him a sense of threat. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Not simple. Longao, your counter-devouring was too risky. Even if you succeed, you will lose your life. Do you think it's worth it? It wasn't worth it. It definitely wasn't worth it. Tao Wu didn't need to say it. Longao knew it too. Tao Wu, you should know the situation better than me. Under normal circumstances, not to mention sealing the passage, even leaving the starry sky prison would be a big problem. What do you think? Tao Wu didn't say anything because what Longao said was the truth. The current situation was very serious. Chapter 26:30. Seems like I still can't leave the astral prison. Tao Wu was forced to the extreme. Ever since he was sealed here, even Tao Wu himself didn't know how many years he had been in the astral prison. Long days. Sometimes, Tao Wu even felt like he was digging his own grave. It was painful. It was sad. But what could he do? The astral prison was very big. Even with his powerful strength, he could only stay in the forbidden area and not leave it at all. Once he moved, he would be attacked by countless unknown creatures. It was hard to say whether he would survive. This gamble failed. But the result? Just as Tao Wu was about to give up and see how to return to the forbidden area, the situation changed. I have a way to leave, but the others can't. Hearing Longao's words, Tao Wu was overjoyed. Although he didn't know what Longao was going to do, as long as he could leave this godforsaken place, he wouldn't hesitate to do anything. Longao, what should we do to be able to leave this place smoothly? He couldn't wait. Longao certainly understood Tao Wu's anxiousness. Originally, he wanted to join forces with the others in the astral prison to forcefully seal the passage. But now it was almost impossible. Longao's intention was simple. He wanted to give them a taste of their own medicine. He wanted to rely on the unknown creature corpse to guard them out of the astral prison. As for using the unknown creature corpse to seal the passage, it was almost impossible. Because even with the unknown creature corpse guarding them, they couldn't stop at all. They had to move quickly. Only then could they leave the astral prison smoothly and enter the passage to return to the vast starry sky. You just need to follow me. He couldn't care less now. Even if he wanted to seal the passage, it would be a fool's dream. Instead of wasting time here, it was better to leave and see if there was any other way. Otherwise, if he wasted time here for thousands of years, he wouldn't even have the time to think of any other way. If that really happened, not only him, but even the vast starry sky would be in trouble. The situation was critical. He could only choose to give up. Thinking of this, Longao didn't continue to hesitate. He roughly checked the unknown creatures he had refined. In just 10 minutes, he had refined tens of thousands of them. In the next second, Longao and instantly left the primal chaos palace and appeared outside. Before the two of them could regain their footing, the countless unknown creatures around them had already begun to attack them in a frenzy. But what was the result? Before the unknown creatures could attack, tens of thousands of them appeared around the two of them. However, not only did this unknown life form and that unknown life form not attack at the same time, they started to counterattack. They seemed to be quite shocked because the surrounding army of unknown life forms could not understand why their companions would suddenly attack their own people. The unknown life form slowed down a little. Taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Longao immediately began to drive the corpse demon and began to move quickly. Seeing that the situation was working, Eugene was overjoyed. If things continued like this, Bian would definitely be able to leave the astral prison. The thought of leaving this damned place made Bian excited. He couldn't wait to leave. Longao's speed was extremely fast. Coupled with the fact that the surrounding creatures were wary of him, the two of them were only a few hundred meters away from the passageway in less than 10 minutes. What did a few hundred meters mean? With Longao and Bian's speed, a few hundred meters was just a matter of a step. Even if the situation was special, the two of them would be able to leave the astral prison in less than a minute and enter the passageway to return to the vast starry sky. As for the situation outside, Longao was still very confident. Because there were Yun Lu and the other two guarding outside, and the seal of the 3 primal chaos stone tablets, the passageway could be sealed for thousands of years. Hence, even if the two of them charged out, there wouldn't be any problems. There was only less than 100 meters left. Looking at the passageway in front of them, Longao and Bian were overjoyed. Because they only needed 3 steps to enter the passageway and return to the vast starry sky. But the result? Just as the two of them were 1 step away from entering the passageway, the situation suddenly changed. Countless unknown life forms, The moment the two of them stepped into the passageway, directly broke through the seal of the passageway and crazily rushed into the passageway. Longao cursed. Bayan never thought that the unknown lifeforms would be so intelligent. In the end, they were too careless. In this way, even if they could leave the astral prison and return to the vast starry sky, countless unknown lifeforms would crazily rush into the vast starry sky and begin to madly sweep through the vast starry sky. When that time came, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao stopped abruptly. The tens of thousands of unknown corpse slaves in front of him began to madly counterattack. This was because Longao had already thought it through. No matter what happened, he couldn't let these unknown lifeforms charge out. He didn't dare to be sure that the 3 primal chaos stone tablets outside could withstand the attack of the unknown lifeforms. It was really an unknown. If they were unlucky and the unknown lifeforms broke through the primal chaos stone tablets, then he didn't dare to imagine what would happen. Longao, hurry up and leave. Are you crazy? Seeing Longao stop instead of leaving, Bayan instantly guessed what Longao meant. He wouldn't do that because the life and death of the vast starry sky had nothing to do with him. As long as he could leave this damned place, it didn't matter whether the unknown lifeforms swept through the vast starry sky or not. We can't let the army of unknown lifeforms enter the vast starry sky. Then I'm sorry. Bayan didn't want to stay here any longer. It wasn't easy for him to leave the astral prison. If he stayed here with Longao now, it would be too stupid. He definitely wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Just as Bayan turned to leave, before he could even react, he was already sent flying by a white cloak. He spat out blood and his body swayed. His primordial spirit directly exploded and he died. Bayan was killed in one move. Longao looked at the situation in front of him and was a little dumbfounded. This was because he never thought that Song Lin would suddenly appear and kill Bayan and for no reason. He didn't know what was going on. What are you doing here? Longao actually didn't care much about Bayan's life because he knew very well that Song Lin wouldn't kill Bayan for no reason. There must be something fishy going on. Chapter 26:31. Do you want to die? Longao was a little confused and didn't know what was going on. However, the situation was urgent and it wasn't the time to ask. Countless unknown lifeforms attacked crazily. Even if they knew they were attacking their own people, in order to sweep through the vast starry sky, the army of unknown lifeforms was completely destroyed. Moths to a flame. No one knew if they were dead or alive. The unknown lifeforms didn't seem to know if they were dead or alive. It was too terrifying. Even Longao's scalp went numb in the face of these fearless unknown lifeforms. Because no matter who it was, even if it was the Star Dominator, including Yun Lu and the Oracle, it was impossible to destroy these terrifying unknown lifeforms. Seeing Longao ignoring her, Song Lin became angrier. Longao, come with me. Song Lin, I don't need to say more about the terror of the unknown lifeforms. I believe you know very well that if I leave like this, once the unknown lifeforms sweep through the vast starry sky, the consequences will be unimaginable. How could Song Lin not know about this? It was one thing to know and another to do something about it. Song Lin wasn't an ordinary Star Dominator, but a Star Dominator who controlled the power of chaos. What kind of concept was that? If Song Lin were to take action, the power would be more powerful than 10,000 Longao. However, Song Lin wouldn't take action at all. You can't do it alone. Don't be fooled, let's go. How could Longao be Song Lin's opponent? After being enveloped by her power, he was forcibly taken away. Even if he were to leave, Longao was prepared to abandon tens of thousands of corpse slaves. However, how could tens of thousands of corpse slaves be a match for an army of unknown lifeforms? It was like throwing an egg against a rock. However, the corpse slaves were even more desperate than the unknown lifeforms. One corpse slave could be exchanged for hundreds or even thousands. In other words, tens of thousands of corpse slaves could be exchanged for hundreds of times more sacrifices. It was just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. Song Lin and Longao's speed soared to the extreme. Since things had already come to this, Longao didn't continue to dawdle. Because according to the current situation, if they continued to dawdle, not to mention resisting the unknown lifeforms, it was unknown whether they could even leave. No matter how strong Song Lin was, it was impossible for her to contend against countless unknown lifeforms. According to their speed, they would be able to leave the tunnel in less than 10 minutes. But what was the result? Just as the two of them were halfway through, the situation suddenly changed. Yun Lu scram. If it were some other matter, Yun Lu definitely would not stop Song Lin. Completely falling out with Song Lin was obviously not a wise move. Only a fool would do that. But now the situation was completely different. If he didn't stop them, then all the effort he had put in for so long would be in vain. Yun Lu was absolutely unable to accept such an outcome. Song Lin, although I don't know why you're doing this, you're obviously going against me. You and I have always minded our own business. Why do you have to do this? Even now, Yun Lu was still in a state of confusion. He could not understand why Song Lin would do such a thing. Under normal circumstances, how could Song Lin help a Longao? No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't think of a reason. Not to mention Yun Lu, even Yun He and Yun Tian couldn't figure out what was going on. For the sake of a small Longao, he had shed all pretense of cordiality with them. His brain was really flooded with water. It was difficult to hide one's expression. If Song Lin insisted on starting a war with the three of them for Longao, the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Yun Lu, I'm not interested in your affairs and I don't want to interfere. But don't you think you've gone too far by dragging Longao into this? Too far? Had he gone too far? Yun Lu didn't feel that he had gone too far at all. In the eyes of these star rulers, the people below them were ants that could be killed at any time. Sacrificing a mere Longao was simply a trivial matter. Yun Lu wanted to laugh out loud because this was the first time he had heard such a thing. It was really a little inconceivable. Song Lin, are you joking with me? Yun He and Yun Tian didn't feel the slightest urge to laugh. They were vigilant at all times because they knew very well that a war was about to break out. They had to eliminate Song Lin as quickly as possible. Given Song Lin's strength, they definitely couldn't give her any chance to retaliate. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones. Do you think I'm joking with you? Song Lin laughed. However, this laugh was particularly sinister. Even Yun Lu was a little afraid because he didn't have the slightest confidence that he could defeat her if the two of them started fighting. In any case, Song Lin's strength was a little too frightening. Unless it was a last resort, Yun Lu was absolutely unwilling to fight with Song Lin. Song Lin, what exactly do you mean? Yun Lu realized that Song Lin wasn't joking because if she was, she wouldn't have stepped into the passage. After all, he knew better than anyone what the passage meant. He felt helpless and depressed. Get out of my way. I'm going to take Longao away. As for your matter, I'm still going to say the same thing. I won't interfere in this matter. If you don't leave, then forgive me for being impolite. I can only kill the three of you here. Before Yun Lu and the other two could speak, Song Lin continued, Yun Lu, don't continue to challenge my bottom line. If you were at your peak, I might consider it. But now, do you think I'm still afraid of you? Yun Lu's face turned gloomy when he heard Song Lin's words. It was as ugly as it could get. Just as Song Lin had said, if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be afraid of her. However, the current situation was very special. Not to mention himself, even if the three of them joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Song Lin. Under such circumstances, the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. He had to end the battle quickly. Could it be that he really had to fight? Or should he choose to give up? No matter what the situation was, it wasn't something he wanted to see. What should he do? Yunlu couldn't wait, and Song Lin couldn't wait either because she was very worried about Longao's safety. Under such circumstances, she could leave if she made the slightest mistake, but it didn't mean that Longao could leave. After all, Yunlu and the other two were star rulers. The difference in strength between Longao and the three of them was too great. They weren't on the same level at all. Chapter 26:32. She didn't hesitate any longer. Tens of thousands of unknown creature corpses wanting to stop the invasion of the unknown creature army was a fool's dream. It was almost impossible. She had to end the battle quickly. The situation was very dangerous. Song Lin wasn't worried about herself. She was worried about Longao. 1 against 3. If it were anyone else, it would be like throwing an egg against a rock if they wanted to fight 3 rulers at the same time. It was impossible. Except for Song Lin. Song Lin's situation was completely different. Apart from being a ruler of the universe, she also controlled the power of chaos. Her strength was far above ordinary rulers of the universe. Longao, you go first? Longao didn't hesitate at all. He took a detour and prepared to leave the passage. Longao already knew that Yunlu wasn't as simple as he thought. If Song Lin could easily defeat the 3 of them, he believed she wouldn't be like this. Seeing that Longao was about to leave, Yunlu and the others were completely anxious. The 3 of them had waited for so many years and finally got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they chose to give it up so easily, they would be a little unwilling. Longao, if you leave, the 3 of us won't seal the passage. You should know best what the consequences will be. Longao, who was about to leave, stopped abruptly when he heard Yunlu's words. Seeing this situation, Song Lin became anxious. Longao, what do you want? I can't leave. You go first. In any case, the destruction of the seal on the Sword Spirit Mountain was ultimately caused by him. If everyone in the vast starry sky, including the Empire, were to be implicated because of him, then he would definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life. No matter what happened, he couldn't let the unknown lifeforms step into the universe. Once the unknown lifeforms stepped into the universe, there would only be one result: a storm of blood and misery. Longao, you. Song Lin was completely enraged because she never thought that even though things had already turned out this way, not only did Longao not leave, he even stopped. Song Lin wasn't a fool. Of course, she knew what Longao meant. Longao wanted to fight against an army of unknown creatures by himself? He was courting death. Song Lin was very clear that if Longao wasn't willing to leave, then no matter what she did, she believed that Longao wouldn't leave. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him and Longao. He was very anxious. Longao, let's go. Yunlu, stop. Yunlu and the others had never imagined that Longao would stop at this moment. Because with Song Lin's obstruction, it was impossible for them to forcefully make Longao stay. Yunlu and the other 2 weren't willing to clash head-on with Song Lin, or even fight to the death. Yunlu knew that if he was at his peak, not to mention the 3 of them joining forces, even he could fight Song Lin head-on. But now, the situation was completely different. He was no longer at his peak. Not to mention him alone, even if the 3 of them joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Song Lin. The reason why the 3 of them were able to withstand the attack temporarily was not because the 3 of them were strong together, nor was it because Song Lin was weak. It was because of Longao that the 3 of them were able to withstand the attack temporarily while Song Lin was distracted. Although they hadn't been in contact for a long time, Yunlu was very sure that Longao definitely wouldn't leave the passage casually. He left as soon as he said so. Without the slightest hesitation, Yunlu left with the 2 elders at the fastest speed. In a short while, the three of them had disappeared without a trace. If it was any other time, Song Lin definitely wouldn't let it go. But now, in order to protect Longao, Song Lin couldn't be entangled with Yun Lu and the other two. Longao, whether you're really stupid or pretending to be stupid, this isn't something you can control. Everything is because of Yun Lu. At this point, Song Lin abruptly shut her mouth, as if there was something she couldn't say. Longao, I can promise you that as long as you leave with me, I'll help you seal the passage. How about it? Really? Longao didn't care what was going on. In any case, he only knew one thing, and that was that the passage's seal couldn't be broken. Otherwise, once the unknown creatures surged out of the passage and swept through the vast starry sky, the consequences would be unimaginable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have insisted on staying even though he knew that it would be dangerous for him. Let's go. Since things had already come to this, Longao didn't continue to stay and left with Song Lin at the fastest speed. Longao naturally chose to believe Song Lin because he knew that Song Lin wouldn't trick him. Without Yun Lu and the other two obstructing them, with Longao and Song Lin's speed, they smoothly left the passage in just a few dozen steps. As for Yun Lu and the other two, they were no longer guarding the passage because Yun Lu firmly believed that as long as Longao didn't leave the passage, Song Lin wouldn't leave the passage either. If that was the case, they might be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Yun Lu was a little confused by Song Lin's sudden appearance. However, Song Lin's sudden appearance and the relationship between Song Lin and Longao really surprised him. Originally, it was just Longao alone, so he was a little worried. But now, it was obviously very beneficial to them. Outside the passage, Song Lin, what are you going to do? Although it sounded simple, it was easier said than done to truly seal the passage. Even Song Lin wouldn't have it that easy. After all, countless years ago, there were thousands of starry sky rulers in the Chaos Era, but they still couldn't completely seal the passage. It was obvious how difficult it was. Song Lin's expression changed again and again. In the end, she gritted her teeth and said, I, Song Lin, have been unhindered for countless years. I originally thought that I didn't have any emotions or feelings, but I never expected that I would pay a price for a man today. Karma is reincarnation. Since fate has arrived, I, Song Lin, will not avoid it. What was this? Could it be that Song Lin liked him? Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind Song Lin's words. Moreover, he could tell that Song Lin would have to pay a great price to seal the passage. Song Lin, what's going on? Longao was a little anxious. He didn't know why, but he was always worried about Song Lin's safety. If anything happened to Song Lin, he didn't know how to face himself. Nothing must happen to Song Lin. Song Lin didn't answer. Instead, a very gentle expression suddenly appeared on her face. It was filled with tenderness, like a little woman looking at the man she loved. Longao was dumbfounded because he was very clear about the meaning behind Song Lin's actions. Longao, I only want to ask you one thing. Do you have feelings for me? Once the formation was reactivated, the passageway would be resealed. However, restarting it was easier said than done. There was no need to ask. Intuition told Longao that even if Song Lin wanted to forcefully activate the array formation to seal the passage, it would not be an easy task. It was a lingering fear. More than that, he regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have interfered. In Longao's heart, of course Song Lin was more important. However, it was too late to say anything now. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Longao used all his strength to attack the surrounding air barrier. Even if Song Lin no longer released energy to strengthen the air barrier, Longao had already calculated that he would need at least a few minutes to break the air barrier. If it was any other time, A few minutes would pass in the blink of an eye. However, the current situation was completely different. A second was a second. He couldn't afford to waste even a second. Who knew what Song Lin wanted to do? However, Longao was very clear that Song Lin's words had already made it clear. To reactivate the array formation to seal the passage, Song Lin would definitely have to pay a huge price. Song Lin, quickly stop. Seeing Song Lin's expression becoming more and more tyrannical, Longao's expression became more and more gloomy. No. Longao could clearly sense that the Jianling Mountains array formation had begun to recover at an incredible speed. He believed that the array formation would be restored within a minute. Just as he had guessed, Song Lin had paid an unimaginable price to forcibly restore the Jianling Mountains array formation. As for how great a price he would have to pay, Longao could be said to have no idea. A minute passed in the blink of an eye. The destroyed Jianling Mountains array formation was forcibly restored under Song Lin's valiant strength. Not only that, after restoring the Jianling Mountains array formation, Song Lin didn't hesitate and immediately began to seal the passage. This was because Song Lin didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. Although she could forcibly restore the Jianling Mountains array formation, it was still unknown whether she could forcibly seal the passage. Sealing the passage was obviously countless times more difficult than restoring the Jianling Mountains array formation. Song Lin's face was extremely pale and her body was on the verge of collapsing. Longao finally used the Primal Chaos Act. After dozens of strikes, the surrounding air shield was finally forcibly broken. However, it was obviously too late because after a few minutes of hard work, Song Lin had successfully restored the array formation and successfully sealed the passage. In other words, even if the army of unknown creatures in the passage could destroy tens of thousands of corpse slaves, they wouldn't be able to take half a step out of the passage. This was the terror of an array formation. Although the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was powerful, the power of an array formation was obviously far above the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Otherwise, so many star rulers wouldn't have been sacrificed. Longao took a step forward and arrived in front of Song Lin. He held Song Lin's trembling body. Longao could no longer control himself because he knew very well that everything Song Lin had done was because of him. If it weren't for him, with Song Lin's valiant strength, even if the army of unknown creatures swept through the vast starry sky, Song Lin wouldn't be affected. It was all because of him. He shouldn't have taken such a big gamble back then. He clearly knew that there must be a shocking secret under the array formation, but he still stubbornly insisted. Now that he had made a big mistake, it was too late to regret. Song Lin was very weak right now. The Primal Chaos Tablet was protecting her last breath in space. Otherwise, she would have died a long time ago. Her primordial spirit might have even been destroyed. Song Lin, why did you do this? This is fate. Don't blame yourself. Longao, you must remember to protect my body. With the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet's protection, I won't be a true vengeful spirit. Song Lin, Song Lin. As soon as Song Lin finished speaking, her eyes closed. Although she wasn't dead, she was hanging on by a thread. Chapter 2634. Jianling Mountain. It was exceptionally quiet, so quiet that it was eerie. Longao hugged Song Lin quietly. His expression was not as ugly as one would imagine. Self-reproach. Deep self-reproach. He had always had a good impression of Song Lin. It was just that he did not expose her. Longao never thought that Song Lin had always liked him. She was even willing to give up her life for him. The more Song Lin acted like this, the more guilty Longao felt. What should I do? After staying for a day and a night, Longao left quickly with Song Lin in his arms. In a short while, the two figures disappeared without a trace. 3 days later, Yun Lu and the other two returned to Jianling Mountain. Sensing that the array had been restored, the three of them smiled. Patriarch, Song Lin really did restore the array and sealed the passageway. Yun Lu nodded. Yun Lu could not suppress the joy in his heart and said, Song Lin's sudden arrival really surprised me. However, this is just the beginning. Yun He and Yun Tian said at the same time, Patriarch, we must not miss this opportunity. We must succeed this time. Soaring Dragon Empire. Longao returned to the Empire with Song Lin. Yin and the others came one after another when they found out about this. Longao didn't have the slightest bit of hesitation towards his grandfather, Yin and the others. So, he roughly told them what had happened in the Sword Spirit Mountain. Everyone already knew about what happened in Jianling Mountain, but they did not know what was going on. After listening to Longao, everyone's expression was grave. They never thought that Song Lin would not only go to Jianling Mountain, but also pay such a huge price to help Longao seal the passageway in Jianling Mountain. As for the relationship between Longao and Song Lin, as long as one was not a fool, one could guess the relationship between the two. Yin and the others did not say much. In their opinion, Song Lin was willing to sacrifice her life for Brother Long. Such feelings had already gained their recognition. Xiling, what should I do now? There was nothing he could do. Looking at Song Lin, whose fate was unknown, Longao had no idea what to do. Longao was very clear in his heart that although Song Lin had the protection of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet within her body and had grasped the Primal Chaos energy within it, he was still a little pessimistic. If he was unlucky, who knew what would happen to Song Lin? At this time, Longao was indeed afraid. Xiling's expression was grave. Of course, she knew that Song Lin's current condition was very serious. Longao, don't worry. Song Lin's situation is completely different from ours. He nodded. Regarding the meaning in Xiling's words, how could Longao not know? Although Xiling and the others had devoured and refined the Chaos Stone Tablet, they had not grasped the Chaos Force within the Chaos Stone Tablet. However, Song Lin had not only devoured and refined the Chaos Stone Tablet, she had even grasped the Chaos Force within the Chaos Stone Tablet. Mastering the chaotic force and not mastering it were two completely different concepts. However, the current situation was completely different. Even if Song Lin had grasped the Chaos Stone Tablet's Chaos Force, it would be difficult for her to recover. Longao did not speak, but his expression became increasingly grave. No matter what happened, nothing must happen to Song Lin. Everyone leave first. I have something to say to Longao. Don't be too anxious. I know grandfather. Don't worry too much about me. I'm fine. Could they not worry? However, Long Haosher and the others knew very well that even if they stayed, it would not be of much use. They would not be of any help. Not long after. In the elegant room, only Longao and Xiling were left, as well as Song Lin who was lying on the bed. Longao, you don't have to blame yourself. Just as Song Lin said, what happened in Jianling Mountain was fate. No one can change it. Not just you and me, I believe even Song Lin would not be able to reverse fate. Fate. Everything was fate. Longao did not know what fate was, nor did he know if it existed. However, with Song Lin's strength, she was unable to change fate. One could only imagine what fate meant. Xiling, I know what you mean by fate, but I can't care about it now. I just want to ask, do you have a way to save Uncle Song Lin? The most important thing now was to cure Song Lin. Everything else could be left for later. Xiling naturally knew the severity of the matter. He also knew that Longao was blaming himself and feeling guilty. He pondered and began to think of a way to save Song Lin. In an instant, the entire room became completely silent. Longao didn't speak, and Xiling didn't speak either. As for Song Lin who was lying on the bed, she didn't move at all. She just laid there quietly. Sky Martial Continent. The God Diviner had stealthily returned to Jianling Mountain. He was well aware of what had happened in Jianling Mountain. He just didn't spread it. This was a matter between the rulers of the starry sky. Even if it was spread, it would only bring harm. Father, according to what you said, the white-clothed girl paid a huge price in order to restore the formation and reseal the passageway. Previously, because of the passageway, Yunlu stopped us. Now, his wish has been fulfilled. If we make a move now to deal with Longao and the white-clothed girl, we can kill two birds with one stone. How could the god diviner not know what his son was thinking? He said, I want to go to Jianling Mountain and see what Yunlu is up to. Yunlu had been hiding his strength this entire time. The god diviner was now very afraid of him. It could be said that in the entire starry sky, other than the white-robed girl, the person he feared the most was Yunlu. Yidugu didn't say anything. They should ask Yunlu first. If Yunlu insisted on interfering, it would be troublesome. Jianling Mountain. Yunlu and the other two hadn't left Jianling Mountain. They had been guarding it the entire time. Now that the formation had been restored, the army of unknown lifeforms had been unable to leave. However, Yunlu and the others were still worried. After all, they had waited for so many years. The god diviner. Yunlu was very curious to see the god diviner suddenly appear. He didn't know why the god diviner had suddenly appeared. However, he had 3 rulers of the starry sky on his side. It was impossible for the god diviner to defeat all 3 of them. It was nonsense. Yunlu, I'm not here for anything else. I'm here for Longao. What do you think? Although the god diviner didn't say it explicitly, the meaning was clear. Yunlu was no fool. Thinking about it, he said, from now on, I won't interfere with your affairs. Chapter 26:35. He was very happy. Master God Diviner wasn't surprised in the slightest. He had already guessed that the matter of the passageway had already passed. If Yunlu still insisted on interfering, then he would be a fool. I hope you won't interfere this time, or else. The marvelous mathematician did not finish his words, but the meaning of his words was very clear. What about Yunlu? If it was before, Yunlu would definitely not agree, even if the person standing in front of him was the so-called marvelous mathematician. But now, the situation was completely different. He had waited for so many years and finally saw the beginning of the end. At this time, it was definitely not the best time to completely fall out with Longao. If he ruined his years of waiting because of this, it would not be worth the loss. If there are no special circumstances, I won't interfere. Good. After getting the answer he wanted, the marvelous mathematician did not continue to stay, but turned and left quickly. In a short while, he had disappeared without a trace. After the marvelous mathematician left, Patriarch, are we really not going to interfere in the matter between Longao and the marvelous mathematician? Yunhe and Yuntian were very curious, and did not know what the Patriarch meant. Longao was obviously the destiny of this matter, and under normal circumstances, the Patriarch should have intervened in the matter between Longao and the marvelous mathematician. But what was the result? Our most important task now is to settle this matter. As for the grudge between Longao and the marvelous mathematician, I don't want to interfere, lest the marvelous mathematician comes to make trouble. Even so, the matter of destiny was not something they could control. They could not figure it out. They really could not figure it out. If Longao is really the destiny, then there is no need for us to interfere, and the marvelous mathematician will not be able to destroy Longao. Yunhe and Yuntian nodded in agreement. After the marvelous mathematician left Jianling Mountain, he immediately began to calculate Longao's specific location. There were 2 tasks. The first task was to kill Longao and obtain all the secrets on Longao. The second mission was to find the woman in white, because she was the key to whether he could obtain chaotic force or not. In the past, Master God Diviner wouldn't have dared to casually look for the girl in white. After all, her strength wasn't just for show. Even he wasn't a match for Master God Diviner. However, the situation was different now. In order to restore the array formation and seal the passage, the white-clothed girl had paid a great price. Even if she didn't die, she wouldn't be far from it. Now was the best time to control the white-clothed girl. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so how could the godly mathematician give it up so easily? Master God Diviner hadn't been able to calculate Longao's location, much less the white-robed girl. With the two of them working together, it was impossible for Master God Diviner to calculate their whereabouts. Master Godly Mathematician could not do it, but that did not mean that Yun Lu could not do it. Without a doubt, Yun Lu's divination ability far surpassed Master God Diviner. Even so, Master God Diviner didn't say anything to Yun Lu because he knew very well that even if Yun Lu didn't continue to interfere with his feud with Longao, it didn't mean that Yun Lu was willing to help him locate Longao and the white-clothed girl. Since he knew that Yun Lu wouldn't tell him, why would he bother? It was completely unnecessary. Soaring Dragon Empire. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had quietly passed. Longao had been guarding the room all this time because he didn't know when Song Lin would be in danger. In 3 months, neither he nor Xiling could think of a way to save Song Lin. It would be a lie to say that they weren't anxious. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for Song Lin. What should he do? Creak. At dusk, the door was gently opened. Yu-Yin walked in from outside and gently sat down beside Longao. From beginning to end, Yu-Yin's movements were very light. "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine." Longao's feelings towards Yu-Yin had always been very special. Other than love, there was more that he couldn't explain clearly. Sighing deeply in her heart, Yu-Yin could clearly sense that Longao's feelings for Song Lin were very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. "Brother Ao, Sister Song Lin's injuries are very serious. If we don't think of a way in time, I'm afraid something will happen to her." Yu-Yin also didn't want anything to happen to Song Lin. She loved her man very much because of this. If something really happened to Song Lin, she didn't know what Longao would do. It was very helpless. "Yu-Yin, Song Lin is in this state because of me. If I hadn't opened the array, things wouldn't have come to this. Don't you blame me?" Gently shaking her head, Yu-Yin smiled and said, "Brother Ao, you and I have already devoured the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Although I haven't refined the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, I have some understanding of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. This time, Sister Song Lin has most likely injured her foundation in order to reopen the array to seal the passage. It's almost impossible for us to save Sister Song Lin by relying on external forces." "Yu-Yin, what do you mean?" Longao would definitely have guessed it if it was earlier. But now, Longao's mind was in a complete mess. The more Longao was like this, the more heartache Yu-Yin felt. She said helplessly, "External forces definitely won't work if you want to save Sister Song Lin's injuries. According to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, Sister Song Lin wants to recover from her injuries. She might be able to find a way to use the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in her body to save her." Nodding heavily, Longao felt that Song Lin's words were very reasonable. After all, Song Lin's situation was different from others. Not only had she devoured and refined the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, she had even grasped the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet's Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. If she could use the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet to save her, the chances of her recovery would be very high. It sounded simple, but it was very difficult to actually do it. If Song Lin could recover on her own, she wouldn't have to wait until now. 3 whole months had passed and there was still no improvement. From this, it could be seen that Song Lin couldn't do it herself. External forces couldn't do it, and Song Lin couldn't do it herself. If this situation continued, even if Song Lin didn't die, Waking up and recovering from her injuries would be an impossible dream. Yuin, do you have a way? Brother Ao, let Sister Bai Ling try. After all, the two of them are Jianling. Perhaps Sister Bai Ling can borrow her origin Jianling to trigger Sister Tsang Lin's origin Jianling. If that's the case, we still have a very good chance. As soon as Yuin finished speaking, Long Ao's figure had already disappeared. He believed that Yuin was right. This was a method within a method within a method, and it was also a method within a helpless situation. Chapter 26:36. After finding Xiling, Long Ao didn't hesitate and told Xiling everything about Yu Yin's plan. Xiling definitely wouldn't reject it. No matter what the method was, as long as it could save Tsang Lin, Xiling would definitely agree. He was very curious. Long Ao, who told you that Tsang Lin has the source of Jianling in her body? Yuin. Long Ao was too anxious and didn't think about it carefully. But now it didn't make sense. Everyone knew. Xiling and Bai Ling were both Jianling, so they definitely had the source of Jianling in their bodies. But what about Tsang Lin? Tsang Lin wasn't a Jianling, so how could she have the source of Jianling in her body? That was complete nonsense. Other than that, even if Tsang Lin had the source of Jianling, why did Yuin only ask him to find Bai Ling and not Xiling? After all, Xiling had swallowed the Chaos Stone tablet. Whether it was strength or source of Jianling, it was far above Bai Ling. What was going on? Not good. Long Ao and Xiling looked at each other and saw the curiosity in each other's eyes. They didn't know what was going on. So. Xiling and Long Ao were very clear that things weren't that simple. The two immediately left and rushed towards Tsang Lin's room. Their speed increased to the maximum. With Xiling and Long Ao's speed, they arrived in the blink of an eye. Yuin, what are you doing? This time, Long Ao was really angry. He came to Yu Yin's side and saw that Yu Yin's face was pale. She was using her Chaos Stone tablet to try and heal Tsang Lin's injuries. It seemed simple, but it was actually very dangerous. There was a 90% chance of dying. How could he not be angry? If something were to happen to Yuin in order to save Tsang Lin, how could he face Yuin? Even he himself would not be able to pass this trial. It was too terrifying. But in the end, he was still a step too late. Yuin had clearly tried. Looking at the situation, there was no doubt that Yuin had not succeeded in using the Chaos Stone tablet in his body to heal Tsang Lin's injuries. He hugged Yuin. Yuin, what are you doing? Although his voice was filled with endless anger, Long Ao's face was filled with endless worry. He knew very well that if Yuin took another step forward, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yu Yin's face was full of self-blame. Brother Ao, I'm sorry. I didn't heal Sister Tsang Lin's injuries. Looking at the apologetic Yuin, Long Ao wanted to kill himself. He gently carried Yuin and left. Before he left, he said, Xiling, I'll leave Tsang Lin to you. Nodding, Xiling did not say anything. This matter touched Xiling because she never thought that Yuin would do such a thing. If it was her, could she really do it? Violet's spirit asked herself honestly. If it were her, accepting Tsang Lin would already be her limit, not to mention risking her life to save the person she loved. That would be a bit of a nonsensical thing. Xiling's courtyard. Long Ao's heart ached. Fortunately, Xiling was fine and just needed to rest quietly. He said, Yuin, why do you have to do this? Brother Ao, I don't want to see you like this. Sister Tsang Lin is willing to give up her life for you. Just based on this, I can give up everything to save her. In the end, Yuin was not doing it for Tsang Lin, but for himself. The more she was like this, the more guilty and self-blaming he felt. You're too stupid. If something were to happen to you, Long Ao did not know what to say. He was helpless. Brother Ao, I know I'm wrong. Alright, have a good rest. Longao continuously transferred his energy into Yu Yin's body. In just a few minutes, Yu Yin fell asleep. Standing up, Longao sighed deeply. Fortunately, Yu Yin was fine this time. Otherwise, he really did not know what to do. Returning to Tsang Lin's residence, he came to Tsang Lin's side. Looking at Tsang Lin, who was lying on the bed, he said, "Xiling, we have to find a way to save Tsang Lin as soon as possible. Otherwise, I don't know what will happen in the future." Xiling nodded. Of course, she knew what Longao was worried about. It was better to be safe than sorry. If something were to happen to Yu Yin and the others, she really did not know what Longao would do. Longao, Tsang Lin's injuries are very serious. She must have hurt her foundation. Although the Chaos Stone tablet is fine, Yu Yin is right about one thing. It's impossible to rely on external forces to heal Tsang Lin's injuries. We have to let Tsang Lin recover on her own. Only then can we hope to heal Tsang Lin's injuries. How could Longao not know about this point? It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to do. They did not even know where to start. What should they do? Looking at Tsang Lin, who was lying quietly on the bed, Longao's expression became more and more serious. Sighing deeply, he said helplessly, "No matter what happens, I have to heal Tsang Lin." Xiling did not say anything more. Things had already come to this. She did not know what to say because even she did not have the slightest solution. Tsang Lin's situation was very special. It was different from ordinary people. Not only did Tsang Lin devour and refine the Chaos Stone tablet, she even grasped the chaos force within the Chaos Stone tablet. Ordinary star rulers would not be able to do anything. However, looking at the entire vast universe, there seemed to be no other star ruler besides Tsang Lin who could grasp the chaos force. In this way, it was simply impossible to cure Tsang Lin. For a moment, neither Longao nor Xiling had a solution. Inside the palace, "Big brother, you're looking for me?" Longao was very curious. He did not know why his big brother was suddenly looking for him. However, in the current Longao Empire, his big brother was the emperor. Longing already knew about Tsang Lin's matter. She felt very helpless and did not mention it. At the very least, it was better not to mention it until there was no other way. "Seventh brother, the main reason I called you here is because of the Empire. According to what you said before, Yun Lu will definitely not interfere with the grudge between you and Master God Diviner. That way, Master God Diviner will definitely be able to lock onto our position. Before we refine the Chaos Tablet, it will be very difficult for us to deal with Master God Diviner and the 9 Starry Sky Empires." So that was it. In an instant, Longao already knew what his big brother meant. During this period of time, he had neglected this matter because of Tsang Lin. As his big brother said, if Yun Lu did not interfere, the Oracle would definitely do everything possible to deal with him and the Empire. If the Empire was really locked onto by the Oracle, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao's mind was in a mess. He did not know what to do. Instead, he asked, "Big brother, do you have any good ideas?" Chapter 2637. Relocate the Empire. This was the only way out of desperation. Under these circumstances, only by relocating the Empire could they be 100% safe. Relocating the Empire was easy on the surface, but in reality, it was extremely difficult. Whether it was Longao or Longing, they knew better than anyone else how difficult it was. The vast starry sky was boundless. But to find a place in the vast starry sky that even the Oracle couldn't calculate was easier said than done. It was truly a troublesome matter. Although Longao was confident that the Oracle couldn't locate the Empire for the time being, it didn't mean that the Oracle wouldn't be able to do so for the rest of his life. It was just as his big brother said. As long as no one in the Empire could refine the Chaos Tablet and become the ruler of the starry sky, the Empire wouldn't be able to contend with the Oracle. The more he thought about it, the more troublesome it was. The more he thought about it, the more helpless he felt. He had thought that with the protection of Jianling Mountain's formation, the Empire would be able to sit back and relax. But he had never imagined that the Jianling Mountain's formation was meant to suppress the army of unknown creatures. His gamble had failed. Not only had he failed to find a place for the Empire to live, but he had also caused Song Lin's fate to be unknown. If he had known this would happen, he would never have done that. Seventh brother, why don't I go out and look for it myself? He waved his hand. Longao naturally couldn't let his big brother take the risk, especially at this time when the 9 starry sky empires and the Oracle wanted nothing more than to deal with them. Once his big brother went out, who knew what would happen? This was a risk he absolutely couldn't take. Big brother, I know what you mean. Leave this matter to me. Longing also knew the seriousness of the matter. The slightest mistake could lead to the destruction of the Empire. You have to be careful. At this moment, Longao felt a headache. On one side was Song Lin's injury, and on the other was the safety of the Empire. Both sides were very important and couldn't be delayed. With the threat of the 9 starry sky empires and the Oracle, Longao knew very well that he had to be careful when relocating. There couldn't be the slightest accident. Where should he go? After much thought, Longao still couldn't think of a good place. In the courtyard, Longao sat quietly by himself. His face was very ugly and his eyes were tightly shut. The entire courtyard was very quiet. Under normal circumstances, no one was allowed to enter without his permission. However, this did not include his grandfather and the others. Primal Chaos Rock, how are your injuries? Longao slowly opened his eyes and looked at the Primal Chaos Rock in front of him. He forced a smile. When the Primordial Rock was at its peak, it was far stronger than Master God Diviner. However, the current situation of the Primal Chaos Rock was different. His injuries were very serious. According to the Primal Chaos Rock, his injuries could not be healed in this lifetime. At most, he could recover 60% of his injuries. Only 60% was enough to defeat a half-step starry sky ruler. It was a fool's errand to think that he could contend with the astral ruler. It was precisely because of this. Longao couldn't figure out why the chaotic giant rock would suddenly come to find him. What was the reason? Longao, I already know what happened to you recently. I can't do anything about her injuries, but I can think of a way for you to move to another place. You have a place to transfer to? Hearing the Primal Chaos Rock's words, Longao was overjoyed and couldn't wait to ask. Of course, the Primal Chaos Rock knew Longao's eagerness and said, although my injuries are very serious and I can't recover to my peak, I have full confidence that if I use all my strength to set up a shield, as long as it's not a starry sky ruler who has mastered the power of chaos, no one can lock the position of this place, including Master God Diviner. Longao had no doubts about the Primal Chaos Rock. Now that he and the Primal Chaos Rock were on the same boat, the Primal Chaos Rock would not harm him at all. Primal Chaos Rock, you mean we don't need to move at all? Longao certainly knew what the Primal Chaos Rock meant. With the help of the Primal Chaos Rock, it was the same no matter where they were. He nodded. You're right. I've been setting it up for a long time. According to my calculations, I can set it up successfully in less than 3 years, and Master God Diviner won't be able to lock the position of the Empire in 3 years. He was pleasantly surprised. Originally, he was having a headache about the transfer of the Empire, but he never thought that things would take a turn for the better. In this way, he no longer had to worry about the safety of the Empire. Many thanks. You and I are partners, there's no need to thank me. The Primal Chaos Rock didn't stay any longer and continued to set up a shield around the Empire because he was very clear about the seriousness of the matter. The slightest carelessness could completely destroy the Empire. It was still the same sentence. The speed had to be fast because the primal chaos rock didn't want anything to happen to Longao and the Empire. After all, they were on the same boat. If something happened to Longao and the Empire, it wouldn't be good for him. With the help of the primal chaos rock, Longao was temporarily relieved. Now, the most important thing was to think of all ways to save Songlin. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for Songlin. Outside the Martial Heaven continent. Longao, I really didn't think you would dare to come. You really don't know life from death. Yi Dugu and the Master God Diviner couldn't understand the sudden appearance of Longao. Since Longao clearly knew that the two of them wanted to deal with him, why did he insist on doing this? However, the Master God Diviner still didn't have much confidence. If it had been anyone else, with his power, he could have done it in a matter of minutes. The only exception was Longao. Even now, the Master God Diviner didn't know the origin of Longao's divine item. Even he couldn't lock onto its position. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Longao sneered. Looking at the Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu, he icily said, "Master God Diviner, I will naturally settle our enmity in the future. But right now I just want to talk with you. How about it?" Talk about what? The Master God Diviner knew that in this situation, he absolutely couldn't give Longao any chance to react. Otherwise, if Longao hid in his spatial divine item, even he wouldn't be able to do anything. Although it was easy to think about it, it was difficult to actually execute. After all, Longao's situation was a bit special. It was very troublesome. He had to grasp the right time and opportunity. How could Longao not know what the Master God Diviner was thinking? If he was afraid, he wouldn't have come alone. With the protection of the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao didn't fear the Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu. Chapter 2638. Master God Diviner, it won't be that easy for you to kill me. Neither Master God Diviner nor Yi Dugu said anything, because neither of them knew why Longao had come. Longao didn't care. I can even say that even if you're the Starry Sky Sovereign, you won't be able to locate the Soaring Dragon Empire. In response, Master God Diviner's face turned even darker than before. Humiliation. Enormous humiliation. Master God Diviner had always been confident in his Tao of divination. Only in the matter of Longao, it was simply a disgrace among disgraces. The God Diviner suppressed the anger in his heart. He knew that he had to kill Longao in one strike. He couldn't give Longao any chance to escape. In the end, Master God Diviner was very wary of Longao's spacetime artifact. If Longao hid in it, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Even Master God Diviner coveted Longao's spacetime artifact. Master God Diviner, why don't we make a deal? Let's hear it. Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu were very curious about what Longao was up to. Deal? What deal? With my current strength, I can't kill you. Even if you're as strong as the heavens, you can't locate me. Don't you agree? Yi Dugu nodded. Even if he didn't want to admit it, the truth was right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. He sneered inwardly. Longao knew how angry Master God Diviner was. Other than the Starry Sky Sovereign, he was the only one who could make Master God Diviner so helpless. However, Longao knew that this was because Master God Diviner hadn't mastered the primal chaos energy in the tablet. No matter what, mastering primal chaos energy and not mastering primal chaos energy were two different concepts. Longao was certain that if Master God Diviner really did master the primal chaos energy in the tablet, he could lock onto the Soaring Dragon Empire's position in minutes. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, he wasn't worried about this at all. Controlling the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet was easy to think about, but it was extremely difficult to actually do so. If it were that simple, Master God Diviner and the others wouldn't have waited for so many years. Just thinking about it made one realize just how difficult it was to control the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos tablet. The promise of 10,000 years. The marvelous mathematician and Yidugu remained silent, but they had already guessed the meaning behind Longao's words. The promise of 10,000 years. What a good 10,000-year promise. Within 10,000 years, you and I cannot fight each other. You also do not continue to lock onto the position of the soaring dragon empire. I will also not find an opportunity to kill Yidugu. You? Hearing Longao's shameless boasting, Yidugu's expression suddenly changed. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. Longao also didn't say anything. Yidugu also didn't say anything. For a moment, the surroundings were silent. Time trickled by. After an unknown amount of time, Master God Diviner suddenly raised his head. 2 rays of golden light shot out of his eyes. Longao, I'll make a 10,000-year agreement with you. Longao had already sworn a blood oath, so Master God Diviner had no reason to not believe him. Furthermore, he had also sworn a blood oath. Yidugu was very curious. He didn't know what was going on with his father. Why would he suddenly do something like this? Did he really believe Longao's shameless boasting and think he could kill him? That was too ridiculous. However, Yidugu didn't say anything to stop him. He knew that since his father had already made his decision, even if he tried to stop him, it wouldn't be very likely. Fortunately, they only needed to wait 10,000 years. Even if Longao's talent was extraordinary, it was impossible for him to become the ruler of the starry sky in 10,000 years. Chapter 2639. After the 10,000-year agreement was settled, Longao turned and quickly left. From the beginning to the end, neither the godly mathematician nor Yidugu made a move to stop Longao as he gradually disappeared. Dugu, are you unwilling to accept this? Yidugu nodded. Although Yidugu did not speak, the expression on his face said it all. Even now, Yidugu still could not figure out why his father had made a 10,000-year agreement with Longao. It was a bit ridiculous. Even if Longao's talent was extraordinary, even if his cultivation speed was a bit unfathomable, compared to his father, he was not on the same level. If his father wanted to kill Longao, it would be a matter of minutes. It was precisely because of this. Yidugu could not figure out why his father had not killed Longao, but had instead made a 10,000-year agreement with Longao. Very helpless. Yidugu sighed deeply. Dugu, if I had full confidence, how could I have made a 10,000-year agreement with Longao and not killed him? Hearing his father's words, Yidugu was a little shocked, as if he had guessed something. Was this true? If his father had not said it himself, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Dugu, I really do not have the slightest confidence that I can kill him in one strike. Longao is a mystery, a variable, and a fate that even I cannot calculate. The more he thought about it, the more helpless he felt. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he felt. Longao's variable made him feel a little helpless. If he had known earlier, he would have killed Longao as soon as possible, but now he did not even have the chance to regret. Yidugu did not speak because he already knew what his father meant. Unable to kill him in one strike. He knew very well how helpless his father was when he said such words. Besides, I firmly believe that as long as Longao is willing, he will be able to find a chance to deal with you. Yidugu disagreed. Although Yidugu admired Longao's cultivation talent and cultivation speed, Longao wanting to kill him was a bit of a fool's dream. It was almost impossible. Yidugu had successfully broken through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm. He was only one step away from achieving the realm that everyone dreamed of, the so-called Starry Sky ruler. Since they were both at the peak Starry Sky immortal realm, what qualifications did Longao have to kill him? It was a complete joke. How could Master God Diviner not know what his son was thinking? He felt helpless. Although Master God Diviner didn't want to believe it, for some reason, he didn't doubt it at all. Longao was right. The reason why he didn't attack Yidugu was because he didn't want to fight to the death with him. He had his fears, and so did Longao. It was precisely because everyone had their own fears that both sides had made the 10,000-year agreement. Dugu, this matter is already in the past. For the next 10,000 years, you don't need to do anything. All you need to do is completely refine the Chaos Tablet and become the ruler of the universe. The ruler of the universe was an invincible existence in the vast universe. Both Yidugu and Master God Diviner firmly believed that even if Longao's talent was extraordinary, and even if Longao had devoured the Chaos Tablet, it was almost impossible for him to refine the tablet and become the ruler of the universe in 10,000 years. As long as Longao didn't become the ruler of the universe, then even if Yidugu couldn't refine the tablet and become the ruler of the universe in 10,000 years, Master God Diviner was still there. No matter what, Master God Diviner was still the ruler of the universe, and a veteran at that. If he wanted to kill Longao, he could do it in a matter of minutes. As long as Yun Lu and the white-clothed girl didn't act, Longao wouldn't be able to defeat them. He seemed to think of something. "Father, are we not going to deal with the white-clothed girl?" Yidugu couldn't figure out why his father was willing to give up on the white-clothed girl. After all, she was the key to his father's control of the chaos. At the mention of the white-clothed girl, Master God Diviner sneered. "Although I made a 10,000-year agreement with Longao, it doesn't mean others can't deal with Longao." What did that mean? Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through to the Starry Sky immortal realm. Only half-step or Starry Sky rulers could deal with Longao. If half-step Starry Sky rulers had the ability to kill Longao, they wouldn't have to wait so long. Again, Longao wasn't just strong, he also had a space-type artifact. Longao's greatest reliance was his space-type artifact. Otherwise, even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't have survived until now. What did that mean? "Father, what do you mean?" Master God Diviner smiled. "The other rulers of the universe." So that's how it was. According to Master God Diviner, Yidugu already knew that many of the other rulers of the universe had successfully refined the tablet and become the ruler of the universe again. It was easy to say but difficult to do. Relying on the other rulers of the universe to deal with Longao was a little difficult. After all, everyone had their own selfish motives. Unless Yidugu paid a great price, it was impossible to succeed. What did Yidugu want to do? The previous 12 rulers of the universe were Master God Diviner, Yidugu, Blood Devil, Dragon Destroyer, Ruomu, Luomu, Xiling, Long Chong, Long Ming, Tian Dao, Yi Mei, and Xian Tong. 80% of them had refined the tablet and become the ruler of the universe again. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be easy even for a ruler of the universe to refine the tablet. However, Blood Devil and the others had found their own opportunities. That was why they could refine the tablet so quickly. Other than Master God Diviner, who was the sovereign lord of the Starry Sky, the other 11 were Violet Spirit. Long Chong had yet to fully assimilate the primal chaos stone steels and become the sovereign lord of the Starry Sky. As for the other 9, they had already found their own opportunities, and were able to fully assimilate the primal chaos stone steels and become the sovereign lord of the Starry Sky again. Was there some kind of arrangement? Among the 11, only Long Chong, who was with Longao, and Violet Spirit did not refine the Chaos Tablet to become a ruler of stars. The rest of them had already refined the Chaos Tablet to become a ruler of stars. To say that this was a coincidence was too much of a coincidence. Soaring Dragon Empire. Xiling hurried to find Longao, looking very anxious. Xiling, what happened? After resolving the matter of Master God Diviner, Longao had a lot less to worry about. Could something have happened to Tsang Lin? At Xiling's repeated requests, Longao returned to his residence to rest. Tsang Lin was in Xiling's care. Xiling had come to find him so anxiously. Perhaps something had happened to Tsang Lin. Chapter 2640. Xiling's expression was grave. He sighed helplessly. What in the world happened? Looking at the grave expression on Xiling's face, Longao was almost certain that nothing had happened to Tsang Lin. Otherwise, Xiling wouldn't be acting like this. If nothing had happened to Tsang Lin, then what had happened? Longao, we're in big trouble this time. Longao didn't say anything this time. He just looked quietly at Xiling. Xiling was very different now. Of the 12 rulers of the stars, apart from the God Diviner himself who doesn't need to refine the primal chaos tablets, the 11 of us must refine the tablets and become rulers of the stars again. He nodded. Regarding this point, how could Longao not know? Even so, what could they do? In order to obtain the power of primal chaos, the God Diviner had gone to great lengths to persuade the other rulers of the stars. In the end, however, not only had they failed to obtain the power of primal chaos, they had all perished and entered the cycle of reincarnation. To refine the tablets and become a ruler of the stars again was easier said than done. If it were that easy, Xiling would have done it long ago. Why wait until now? Aside from myself, Long Chong, and Yi Dugu, the rest of the people have already refined the primal chaos tablets. What's going on? Hearing Xiling's words, Longao was completely stunned. He knew very well what Xiling's words meant. How could it be so fast? Even if the rulers of the stars had already refined the tablets once, it wouldn't be easy for them to refine the tablets a second time. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't believe that there wasn't something fishy going on. What was going on? Under normal circumstances, it shouldn't be possible. Long Chong and Yi Dugu both obtained the tablet. It must be difficult for them to refine them, but they're the same as me. How could it be? No wonder Xiling couldn't figure it out. No matter who it was, Xiling was more talented than the others. After all, Xiling was a Xiantian Jianling. There was no need to talk about his talent. In that case, if that was the case, then why did Blood Demon and the others refine the primal chaos tablets ahead of time and become the ruler of the universe, while Xiling still hadn't gained anything? It really didn't make sense. Xiling, what do you think is going on? Xiling lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then, he suddenly raised his head and said, Longao, I don't know why, but I have a feeling that fate has been decided. It doesn't seem as simple as it seems. How could Longao not know what Xiling meant? If that was the case, things would be very troublesome. Among the many starry sky rulers, there were many who had grudges with him. If these people were determined to deal with him at this time, he would be in a passive position. Even now, Xiling and Longao couldn't figure out why the Blood Demon and the others had suddenly become rulers of the universe. He did not doubt Xiling's words at all. Longao, don't you think that this vast universe is not as simple as we think? I understand what you mean. Whether it's Yun Lu or Tsang Lin, they're both beyond the scope of our understanding. The universe is indeed not as simple as it seems. The universe had existed for who knew how long, and no one had been able to uncover its secret. There was nothing they could do. But there was nothing they could do about it. Even though they knew something was wrong, there was nothing they could do about it. Longao, you and the Master Clairvoyant made a promise of 10,000 years. Originally, we had a chance to catch our breath. With 10,000 years to refine the primal chaos tablets, I was confident that I could return to the peak of martial arts. But now, with the Blood Demon and the others refining the Primal Chaos Tablets, if nothing unexpected happens, we won't be able to live in peace. Setting aside the grudges between the Blood Demon and the others, he believed that the Master Clairvoyant wouldn't let go of this opportunity. His 10,000-year promise with the Master Clairvoyant only said that they couldn't kill each other, but it didn't say that they couldn't borrow the help of others. These were two completely different concepts. It was no wonder that the Master Clairvoyant was willing to make a 10,000-year promise with him. Besides being afraid that he wouldn't be able to kill Yi Dugu in one strike, the biggest reason was that he wanted to borrow the strength of the Blood Demon and the others to deal with him. What a good Master Clairvoyant! Borrowing a knife to kill. However, Longao was certain that if the Master Clairvoyant wanted to ask the Blood Demon and the others for help, he would have to pay a great price. After all, there was no free lunch in this world. Longao, what do you plan to do next? Helplessly shrugging, Longao smiled and said, I'll deal with whatever comes my way. They couldn't kill me back then, but now they want to deal with me. Humph. Confidence. Seeing Longao brimming with confidence, Xiling sighed deeply and said helplessly, Longao, I know what you mean, but the situation is different now. With the Blood Demon and the others refining the Primal Chaos Tablets, their strength is not something you can imagine. Longao smiled. Xiling, now that the Soaring Dragon Empire is protected by the Primal Chaos Rock's energy shield, not to mention the Blood Demon and the others, even the Master Clairvoyant won't be able to locate us. Violet Spirit did not have much confidence in the Primordial Rock. After all, the Primordial Rock was no longer the Primordial Rock that it had been at its peak. It was still unknown whether the air shield it had set up would be able to block the lock of Master God Diviner and the others. Xiling couldn't figure out why Longao trusted the Primal Chaos Rock so much. If the Primal Chaos Rock's energy shield really couldn't block the Master Clairvoyant and the others, it would be too late for regrets. Xiling didn't try to persuade him. She knew very well that if she could think of it, Longao could think of it too. As for me, I have the protection of the Primal Chaos Palace. No one, not even Song Lin, can control me. Xiling didn't have the slightest doubt about this. She had seen the power of the Primal Chaos Palace with her own eyes. She had tried to locate the Primal Chaos Palace but failed. She really couldn't figure out where Longao had obtained such a heaven-defying starry sky artifact. With such a starry sky artifact protecting him, he could indeed ignore everything. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. After all, Longao's strength couldn't compete with the starry sky ruler. If he wasn't careful, he would be doomed eternally. Before Xiling could speak, Longao had already said, Let's not talk about this for now. I still say the same thing. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. The most important thing now is to think of a way to heal Song Lin's injuries as soon as possible. Longao felt very guilty and blamed himself for Song Lin. If he couldn't heal Song Lin, he didn't know how to face himself. He stood up and sighed helplessly. Chapter 2641. Within a quiet room, Longao looked at Song Lin, who was lying on the bed quietly. If not for him, Song Lin would not have fallen to such a state today. Not only was Song Lin the ruler of the universe, she had even mastered the power of chaos. Across the entire universe, there was truly no one who could match up to her. He was helpless. Song Lin, what should I do? Holding on to Song Lin's petite hands gently, Longao could no longer care about anything else. Song Lin's identity was still a mystery. Under normal circumstances, how could Longao accept Song Lin so easily? Could he really give up on a girl who was willing to sacrifice her life for him? He heaved out a deep sigh. Big bro, what's wrong? Looking at Long Chong, who was walking in from outside, Longao was curious. He did not know why Long Chong was looking for him at this moment. Everyone in the Empire knew about his current situation. Under normal circumstances, they would not disturb him. If it were any other time, Longao would have sensed it long ago. But now? Because of Tsang Lin, Longao's heart was in a mess. He shook his head helplessly. Big bro, I've successfully cultivated the Chaos Stone Tablet. What did you say? Huh? Hearing his big bro's words, Long Chong was stunned. Seemed like his big bro truly liked this woman. Otherwise, he would not have acted as such. As though he had snapped back to reality, Longao bolted upright. Looking at Long Chong opposite him, he asked hurriedly, "What did you say?" "Big bro, I've succeeded in cultivating the 5 elements Chaos Stone Tablet within my body." Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Hearing that Long Chong had finally cultivated the 5 elements Chaos Stone Tablet within his body, Longao reared his head and laughed maniacally. He knew clearly in his heart what cultivating the Chaos Stone Tablet entailed. In other words, Long Chong was now the true ruler of the 5 elements starry skies. This was a pleasant surprise for Longao. "Big bro, we don't have to fear the oracle anymore." He was filled with regret. If Long Chong had been able to refine the primal Chaos Stone Tablet earlier, then he wouldn't have needed to make a 10,000-year agreement with Master God Diviner. With the Starry Sky ruler overseeing the Empire, even the divine mathematician would not dare to provoke him casually. He felt helpless. "Long Chong, I've already made a 10,000-year agreement with the clairvoyant." Regarding Long Chong, Longao did not hide anything from him and gave him a rough account of what had happened. "Big brother, even if you and the God Diviner have made a pact, I haven't. Although I can't kill the God Diviner, I can suppress Yi Dugu. Of all the rulers of the universe, only Xiling and Yi Dugu had not refined the Chaos Tablet. The people of the Soaring Dragon Empire who had devoured the Chaos Tablet were not included. How could Long Chong not know what Longao meant? If that was the case, then even the God Diviner would have nothing to say. But Long Chong was still his brother. If that was the case, then he really was afraid that the blood oath would implicate him. "Long Chong, let's drop this matter. Big bro," he waved his hand, stopping Long Chong from continuing. He said, 10,000 years is a very short time for us cultivators in the starry sky. I can wait. Even if Yi Dugu has already refined the primal Chaos Stone Tablet by then, I am not afraid." Long Chong had successfully become a ruler of the universe. The significance of this was completely different. Longao, who had been a little worried, was now completely at ease. At this moment, "Xiling, did you succeed in refining the Sword Intent Tablet as well?" Longao guessed. He didn't know why, but his intuition told him that of the previous 12 rulers of the universe, apart from the God Diviner who didn't need to refine the Chaos Tablet, most of the other 11 rulers, including Long Chong, had already refined the Chaos Tablet. According to this situation, then Xiling should have successfully refined the Chaos Tablet as well. As expected. "Longao, how did you know?" When he heard Xiling's words, Longao knew that his guess was correct. If this was the case, then Long Chong and Xiling would mean that the Soaring Dragon Empire now had 2 rulers of the universe. He regretted it to the extreme. 2 rulers of the universe and 1 ruler of the universe were 2 completely different concepts. This meant that even without the agreement of 10,000 years, the God Diviner wouldn't dare to casually make a move. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Xiling smiled. "Longao, I'm sure you know better than me what it means to devour the Chaos Tablet. Even if we can suppress the God Diviner and the others, killing them is impossible. As for sending them into the cycle of reincarnation or sealing them, we don't even have the slightest confidence in being able to do so." How could Longao not understand Xiling's meaning? He just wasn't willing to accept it. "I know. 10,000 years from now, The God Diviner and I will completely resolve our enmity. Long Chong and Xiling didn't say anything more. They knew that this really wasn't the best time to make a move. Long Chong and Xiling had refined the Chaos Tablet at practically the same time, becoming rulers of the universe. Not only that, but the martial heaven continent's Yi Dugu had also refined the Chaos Tablet at the same time, becoming a ruler of the universe. Since then, the 12 rulers of the universe had all recovered their peak power. If someone said that there wasn't the slightest trick, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. According to their calculations, even if they had refined the Chaos Tablet a second time, including Yi Dugu and Long Chong's first time, they would have needed a lot of time. To refine the Chaos Tablet in just a few days was like the ravings of a lunatic. It was practically impossible. In the outer sea, within the Crystal Palace. Dugu, tell me, what's going on? The God Diviner was very curious. He and Yi Dugu could clearly sense that it wasn't just Dugu. Even Xiling, Long Chong, the Blood Devil, and the others had refined the Chaos Tablet and become rulers of the universe. Yi Dugu shook his head. His expression was grave, but even more so, he was pleasantly surprised. Father, I don't know what's going on either. Just this morning, while I was cultivating, I suddenly refined the Chaos Tablet for no reason. No, I should say that it automatically refined the Chaos Tablet. Automatically refined the Chaos Tablet? What did that mean? The God Diviner naturally wouldn't doubt his own son. Of all the children of the universe, perhaps only his son was closest to him. If he couldn't even trust his son, then he really didn't know who to trust. He was helpless because the God Diviner regretted making that promise of 10,000 years. Long Chong was no longer the same as he had been in the past. He had 2 rulers of the universe protecting him. Chapter 2642. Father, if I'm not mistaken, Xiling and Long Chong should have refined the Chaos Tablet and become Starry Sky Dominators. Master Godly Mathematician didn't speak. He just listened quietly. Longao already has 2 Starry Sky Dominators by his side. If Longao is lucky and becomes a Starry Sky Dominator 10,000 years later, it will be even more difficult for us to kill Longao. He nodded. How could Master Godly Mathematician not know his son's concerns? When would he regret it? But what could he do if he regretted it? He and Longao had already made a blood oath and made a 10,000-year promise. Even if he was a Starry Sky Dominator, it was impossible for him to violate the blood oath. Dugu, even if you've refined the Chaos Tablet and become a Starry Sky Dominator, we can't deal with Longao ourselves. Yi Dugu of course knew why. Blood oath. Not only him, but even his father couldn't violate it. If that was the case, things would be very troublesome. Father, it's still the same move. Kill with a borrowed knife? He nodded heavily. Even if he knew in his heart that this move would come at a great price, it was more than enough to kill Longao and eliminate the root of the problem. Go and contact the other Starry Sky Dominators for me. I want to see what kind of conditions they will offer. Yi Dugu also knew the urgency of the matter. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately left the Crystal Palace. Outside the soaring Dragon Empire, Yun Xian looked at the vast empty starry sky in front of her. Her face was very ugly because according to her previous experience, the soaring Dragon Empire was indeed here. But in the end, it was empty. What the hell happened? After so many years, the connection between her and Longao had long been broken. It was almost impossible to lock onto the position of the soaring Dragon Empire by relying on the aura. What was going on? She couldn't figure it out. She really couldn't figure it out. It was a bit of a coincidence. Long Ying was just about to go out to do something when she ran into Yun Qian. The two had seen each other before, but Long Ying was very surprised. She didn't know why Yun Qian suddenly came. Seeing Long Ying suddenly appear in front of her, Yun Qian was delighted. Miss Yun Qian, what are you doing? I'm here to look for Long Ao. Where's your empire? Although she knew Yun Qian, Long Ying would never tell her the empire's secret. As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. If he were to leak the secret, and the girl in front of him leaked the secret, then things would be troublesome. It's not convenient to say too much. Please. At this time, seventh brother was upset and definitely did not want to see anyone. As the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Empire, Long Ying could still make decisions. How could Yun Qian give up so easily when she finally met someone she knew? Big brother, I'm really looking for Long Ao. It's about Jianling Mountain. Jianling Mountain? Long Ying, who was about to leave, suddenly turned around and glared at Yun Qian when she heard the words Jianling Mountain. Others might not know what Yun Qian's identity was, but how could Long Ying not know? Yun Lu was Yun Qian's father, and this Jianling Mountain incident was definitely related to Yun Lu. Long Ying did not dare to be careless and brought Yun Qian back to the Soaring Dragon Empire. Yun Qian? Long Ao was very surprised. For so many years, Yun Qian had never looked for him. He originally thought that Yun Qian had already drawn a clear line between them because of Yun Lu. However, he never expected that Yun Qian would appear at this time. Long Ao, are you okay? I already know about what happened at Jianling Mountain. I'm fine. Everything has been settled. Long Ao didn't want Yun Qian to be involved. Long Ao had a good impression of Yun Qian. Even if Yun Lu was hiding something, in the future when they were going to fight to the death, this matter had nothing to do with Yun Qian. Yun Qian seemed to be aware of the change in the situation. She sighed deeply and said helplessly, Long Ao, I never thought that things would come to this. Father has already said that you are the one who has opened the seal of the Spirit Sword Mountain. So, you are destiny. Even he can't control it. Fate. Long Ao felt very helpless towards such a faintly discernible thing. He knew very well who was right and who was wrong in this matter. This matter could not be blamed on Yun Lu. It was all his fault. If he did not forcefully break open the formation, the matter today would not have happened. He was very helpless. Anyway, things had already happened. Song Lin had paid a huge price to reseal the passage, making up for the danger of unknown creatures sweeping through the vast starry sky. Yun Qian, this matter is over. It has nothing to do with you. Are you blaming me? Long Ao smiled. Yun Qian, I have never blamed you. Long Ao then roughly explained what happened at Jianling Mountain. I see. Even so, Yun Qian's complexion still didn't look good. She said, Long Ao, you have unintentionally helped my father this time. I don't know what's going on. However, my father hasn't given up on the Sword Spirit Mountain for so many years. Can I ask you for a favor? Please speak. Long Ao was very curious. He did not know what Yun Qian wanted him to help her with. In any case, Yun Qian had 3 rulers of the starry sky behind her. Moreover, Yun Lu's strength was even more unfathomable. What was it that Yun Qian could not do that she wanted him to help her with? However, Long Ao sincerely regarded Yun Qian as a friend. Since his friend had asked, how could he refuse? As long as he could do it, he would help. Long Ao, no matter what happens in the future, I hope that you will not become enemies with my father. Please. Ah? What does this mean? Looking at Yun Qian in front of him, Long Ao seemed to be a little confused. He didn't know what Yun Qian meant. As long as Yun Lu came to provoke him, it wasn't like he had nothing better to do. It was almost impossible. However, Long Ao was not a fool. For Yun Qian to mention this for no reason, there must be something fishy about it. It seemed that the matter at Jianling Mountain was not so simple. It had a lot to do with Yun Lu. It was just that he did not know about it. Yun Qian, I know what you mean. I can promise you that as long as your father does not provoke me or something unexpected happens, I will never become enemies with him. I will even fight to the death with him. How about it?" Yun Qian nodded in surprise. She really did not know about her father's matter. "Yun Qian, you didn't come this time for this, right?" Longao was not willing to believe that Yun Qian came this time just to say this. If that was the case, then Yun Qian was a little too bored. "I miss you." Chapter 2643. Did she like him? What a headache. Longao couldn't figure out what Yun Qian liked about him. Love at first sight? No matter whether others believed it or not, he would never believe it. He felt helpless. "Yun Qian, you and I are friends. Why do you have to do this?" This time, Yun Qian didn't react as he expected. Instead, she was calm. "Longao, you don't believe that I fell in love with you at first sight, do you? Do you think I will believe it?" She sighed softly. "Longao, believe it or not, you are the first man that I have liked in so many years. You will also be the only man that I will like from now on." Hearing Yun Qian's words, Longao's head hurt even more. He would rather fight with the Starry Sky Dominator than be entangled with Yun Qian. Now that he had one more confidant, Longao didn't want to have another one. He would avoid this kind of thing as much as possible. If it were someone else, they would be happy if they encountered such a thing, let alone avoid it. Only Longao didn't seem to have any reaction. There was no need to talk about Yun Qian's appearance and strength. She even had 3 close female friends behind her. Such a girl was probably the dream woman of every man. Yun Qian couldn't figure it out. The more Longao acted like this, the more she couldn't forget Longao. "Yun Qian, why are you doing this?" This time. Before Yun Qian could speak, Longao had already said, "To be honest, I already have many confidants. I can't let go of others. Please give up." Longao's meaning was very clear. He directly rejected Yun Qian. Yun Qian was not a fool. Of course, she could understand the meaning of Longao's words. If she chose to give up easily, she wouldn't be Yun Qian. She dared to love and hate. She would never give up on her beloved. Longao admired Yun Qian very much. There weren't many women who could do this. If he didn't have other confidants, he might be tempted. However, at this moment, he was very clear that once he softened his heart, it wouldn't be good for him or Yun Qian. In such a situation, he had to be ruthless. "Longao, I want to ask you something. I hope you can answer me honestly." He nodded. Looking at the affectionate Yun Qian in front of him, Longao really couldn't bear to be ruthless. "Did you really not like me at all?" How should he answer? Like? Or do you not like it? If he said that he didn't like her at all, he would be lying to himself and others. However, if he said that he liked her and wanted to be husband and wife, that would be a bit of nonsense. In the end, Longao still hardened his heart and said, "No, Yun Qian. Whether you fell in love with me at first sight or not, that's your own business. I can tell you clearly now that I don't like you. Please conduct yourself with dignity." For a girl, Longao's words were already very harsh. If it were any other woman, they would have given up after hearing this. However, Yun Qian just smiled as if she didn't care at all. She smiled and said, "Longao, I'll say it again. Whether you like me or not, I like you very much. One day, I will make you like me willingly." He was completely convinced. Encountering such a woman, Longao couldn't do anything. He couldn't just chase her away. No matter what, in his heart, Yun Qian was still his friend. Helplessness filled his face. Longao said helplessly, "Yun Qian, do whatever you want." Longao was helpless, but Yun Qian was full of smiles. Yun Qian didn't stay for long because she had something to do. She only stayed for a few hours before she got up and left. He had seen valiant people before, but he had never seen such valiant people. However, Longao still admired Yunqian very much in his heart. Not every woman could do this. Longao was extremely helpless towards Yunqian. He couldn't beat her or scold her. Under such circumstances, he could only take one step at a time and hope that Yunqian could find her ideal husband as soon as possible. In that case, it would be a good choice for both him and Yunqian. When he arrived at Song Lin's residence, Longao gently went to Song Lin's bed and sat down. "Song Lin, what exactly do I have to do to wake you up?" Putting aside how to cure Song Lin, the first thing Longao wanted to do was figure out how to wake Song Lin up. This was because no one knew Song Lin's body better than herself. Once she woke up, he and Song Lin could discuss how to make a move. Given the current situation, he had no idea where to start. Primal Chaos Hall? Just as Longao was at a loss, the words Primal Chaos Hall flashed across his mind. For some reason, Longao had a feeling that only the Primal Chaos Hall could help Song Lin. Regardless of whether the Primal Chaos Hall could really help Song Lin, he had to give it a try. If he and Song Lin were lucky and the Primal Chaos Hall could really help Song Lin, it would be a great fortune. Longao clenched his fists tightly. Of course, he hoped that the Primal Chaos Hall could really help Song Lin. If even the Primal Chaos Hall couldn't help her, he really didn't know what else he could do. Carefully, Longao prepared to bring Song Lin into the Primal Chaos Hall. Previously, he had wanted to bring Song Lin into the Primal Chaos Hall to ensure her safety. However, he had helplessly discovered that for some unknown reason, Song Lin couldn't step into the Primal Chaos Hall. Just as Longao was about to carry Song Lin into the Primal Chaos Hall, he was immediately repelled by the Primal Chaos Hall as soon as he touched it. Longao knew that it wouldn't be a problem for him to enter the Primal Chaos Hall, but it was impossible for Song Lin to step into it. What exactly was going on? Why could other people enter the Primal Chaos Hall as they pleased? Although they couldn't stay for long, they could still enter. Only Song Lin, whether it was in the past or now, couldn't step into the Primal Chaos Hall. This was truly baffling. If he couldn't enter the Primal Chaos Hall, then he wouldn't be able to borrow the power of the Primal Chaos Hall to help Song Lin. Looking at Song Lin lying on the bed, Longao was very anxious, but there was nothing he could do. There was nothing he could do. Although Longao didn't know what kind of existence the non-elemental Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in the Primal Chaos Hall was, he was certain that the non-elemental Primal Chaos Stone Tablet was definitely not ordinary. Perhaps it could trigger the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet in Song Lin's body to repair itself. Only then would Song Lin be able to completely recover. Although it sounded simple, it was still unknown whether it would actually work. Regardless of whether it worked or not, he still had to try. Even if he knew that there wasn't much of a chance, he still had to try and never give up. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.